the only reason that he had somebody else do this was plausible deniability to his wife. That, how can I be cheating on Instagram? I don't even have it on my phone, you know? Like, so he wouldn't be specific. He'd be like, how's socials? But that really means, how's DMs? And that really means, are there any hot chicks in my inbox messaging me who might live in the area that I want to?
The vast majority of people who use these drugs are people who are responsible, take care of their families, they care about their communities, they do all this sort of stuff. But Hollywood and the media and the mythology is so powerful in showing only this one image.
Everyone should have the ability to feel safe in school, and they should have the right to self-expression. Conservatives and a lot of other people believe in strong traditional values and strong American ideals, and the ideal of basic human rights and having the ability to express yourself and have self and bodily autonomy.
People always try to get me to say it's child abuse to put your kid on puberty blockers and whatnot. And I don't say that for a reason, because I've interviewed the parents. And you realize that they thought they were doing what was right for their kid. They were really scared. They didn't know. Like, they're very concerned. I mean, they're worried. And they've been encouraged by mental health professionals that if you don't do this, your child could kill herself or himself.
The people who pressed on with that American creed, yes, we can.
Yes, together, we will make America.
Yeah, man. Welcome to today's episode of Unintelligent Intellectuals.
We need to figure out an intro.
I think that's pretty solid. You don't like my intro?
That's okay.
Damn. Too much energy?
I think I'm just watching too many podcasts.
Yeah. I mean, I like I have some... Yeah, I've seen some pretty cool ones where like they have like their own music or their own little catchphrase at the beginning, little
like even Bobby Lee, he doesn't really have an intro, but it You've never watched Bobby Lee's podcast?
No, I've seen clips with when him and his ex-wife, I guess now,
ex-girlfriend.
Okay,
they didn't
ex-girlfriend.
Get married.
Okay, I assume.
But the bestiality, inbreeding.
Yeah, I don't know what's going on. I was just
she gave a hand job to a dog, and she had sex with her unbeknownst biological half brother.
Fuck, dude. All right.
She's a cum slut whore.
Yeah, I remember it was around the time when they were talking about that other comedian who's
Schaub.
Not funny at all. Yeah.
Not funny at all.
Yeah, I was so upset that this guy.
Spicy.
Oh my god! Like it was.
That's where the hatred comes from. It's because he actually makes like a lot of money and he's nothing but a piece of shit.
Yeah, seems like a nice guy, but god damn.
No,
I don't know.
You wouldn't like him.
Okay, fair enough. I don't know anything about it.
You can't have that much money and be what he is, and like you would like him as a person.
I don't know.
If he was just
any rich friends. I have no idea.
No, I'm saying if he worked at your job, you probably would think he's cool. But if like he worked at the job and it's like, yeah, I do this in my spare time because I made like $80 million doing like this, you'd be like, I'm going to murder your entire family.
Jesus. Oh man. But yeah.
You definitely know rich people.
I mean not like personally. But I mean like I guess no.
You don't nobody you met ever had like parents who like were successful.
Yeah, I mean successful. I guess maybe my idea of rich, I'm thinking about like oodles and noodles of money where like you're not even thinking about it. Whereas like I know plenty of people are successful, but they're still like because they're spending what their means is.
Everybody that's successful is continually grinding.
Yeah, then I don't. I mean, like I've met people
It's not some you know. What's that word? Like trust fund rapist who's just like, you know, like raping women and getting away with it because daddy's got money. Like
I don't think that's how rich. Yeah.
He's just incredibly untalented and makes a lot of money. That's what I'm talking about.
Yeah. No, but like I've met people who just like, whose parents are like, oh yeah, he works, or like whose parents work, or one parent works, and
You never been to a nice house?
Yeah, I've been to a nice house,
Well,
but
that's
it's
what
like,
I'm saying. Like, you've been around people that are successful.
Yeah,
But they're
yeah.
not fucking retarded. Like,
Right. Yeah,
you don't look at them and go like, I'm either gonna kill you or kill myself because this isn't how life's supposed to be. That's the point.
It's just when I think about rich people, I'm thinking about people who aren't even concerned about money. I've never met anybody who's not even concerned about money. Like everybody I've met is like, okay, gotta.
I guarantee you, he's concerned about money.
Okay. I feel like once you reach a certain stratosphere, like income level, that you're just like, I'm good. Like I don't have to worry about where the.
You have to maintain that.
Yeah, but it's like you're spending things because you want to, not necessarily like making sure the bills are paid, make sure you have food on the table, and like struggling to get enough money put away for a vacation or investment or college. Yeah, but I'm saying like when I say rich people,
you did all that overtime just for a trip to Disney.
Exactly, and I don't consider myself rich, and like I've never
done that trip.
No, I mean, but it depends. It depends because like for me, it's like. I don't like. I could have pocketed all that money, and I would have been like, "Oh, nice."
Busch Gardens.
Yeah, but at the same time, I
Same
wanted.
result.
No.
Third of the cost.
No. I think the experience at Disney is better than at.
No, I'm just fucking with you.
Yeah. But like, that's because based on what I value. Like, I value that experience, and I was like, oh, I want to have this experience with the kids, so let me just bust ass for that. So, and I've met people who are successful enough to be able to do stuff like that, but I've never met anybody who's like, hey, we'll go on a trip.
There are
Like,
people at work that are like that, whose parents are like that.
Oh, really?
You just get in your own fucking world. I
guess so, man. Like, I'm fucking isolated from what's going on. Like, I know, like...
There's somebody at our job who literally, like, 2 or 3 times a month will travel internationally with his family. And you just have, like...
No, well, I know, for example, yeah.
I don't know where we're going with it.
Fuck it. I don't know if I know rich people. That'll be maybe tomorrow, next week's topic.
I just wanted to shit on Brendan Schaub, and then it went down to it.
Oh, sorry. I really got stuck in my head. Like you said, I was really like, do I know rich people? I don't know. Honestly, I don't think I don't really know anything about Brendan Schaub. I've seen like maybe 20 minutes total of him, and I'm just like, oh, okay. Like you just
I'm trying to
dude.
I'm trying to segue this into something.
Sorry, I didn't pick up on the cues. I think we have to start like having conversations before we do this. Fucking around for like.
So he has one of his like one of the people in his team.
Yeah.
Because he's got different podcasts. Because he's got like his own company kind of.
Yeah.
So one of these guys. He's been nicknamed Big Gay Lion, but not in like a good way. It's people who fucking hate him who called him Big Gay Lion. He's just
Big Gay Lion.
I can't.
Yeah.
I can't accurately describe him now.
Fair.
Maybe later I can describe him.
Okay.
He's just on steroids and has like long hair and is.
Oh, okay.
Just a fucking douchebag.
Nice.
He used to run his like social media platform, or whatever like he was running that shit.
Yeah.
To some degree, and then obviously because Schaub's a fucking idiot, he becomes friends with everybody he works with. So then when you get cut, or people part ways, well now I have ammunition to bury your fucking ass if I'm jilted.
Oh, so then he came
just
out.
Just like we became a big podcast,
so
and
that's
then
where all the shit came out of with him.
No, this is something completely different. This happened like 2 months ago.
Oh wow. So out of the loop, dude.
I know.
I'm like, you gave me one thing, and I was like, all right, I'm gonna laser focus on this thing that we're talking about.
We should change the podcast to talking with my dad, and it's just. It's me.
Oh, what's going on now?
It's me and
recession.
It's me just correcting you constantly. No, you would know about a recession. You just wouldn't know about like some major thing that went viral for a week and a half.
Yeah, I just wouldn't. And that's the thing. Like, I'll look up stuff that I care about and like I want to learn about, but I just. Well,
you're not on. You're not on that stuff anyway.
Yeah.
So it's not going to come across to you.
Yeah.
Unless someone specifically is like, "Did you hear?" And then you're going to be like, "No," and then they'll explain it. And then if you want, you can then look it up.
Yeah.
So I know that like you're not in a realm for you to.
I just don't care.
It's just like my brothers gave me shit because I didn't know Old Town Road.
Oh, the song. Oh, okay. Yeah.
And it was like 6 or 8 months in, and I'm like I don't.
Yeah.
I don't. Like I'm not listening to music like that.
Yeah. Okay.
Like I'm either listening to podcasts.
Yeah.
And those podcasts are like comedians or like history or.
Yeah.
Maybe a wrestler got interviewed and I was like mildly curious. Or I'm listening to my specific playlist, which is like Kendrick Lamar, Chance the Rapper, and like rock from the 90s.
Gotcha.
Like I'm not going to pick up on Old Town Road.
Yeah. Oh yeah, this is great. I didn't see what you and it's.
I'm not watching TV because I'm not watching the commercials. So the only thing I'm watching is like Netflix or Amazon, if that.
Right.
And then my brother was like, "How the fuck have you not heard of this? It's got like 400 million views and it's everywhere." And I'm like,
Yeah.
I have. And then at the time who I'm working with, it's like, okay, everybody I know is like over 30.
Yeah, I was
Who's gonna tell me about Lil Nas X?
Yeah, that'll change things. Like the age, because like I think because I have kids, I've heard a lot of songs. I might not know them, but like most of them I don't like. But there's
it was.
I've touched different.
There's a potential that I heard that intro, which is a pretty like recognized intro.
Yeah.
But like.
Yeah.
I don't know like what that is.
No, yeah.
I mean, obviously now I'm like completely fucking aware of what the song is. But at the time I wasn't.
Yeah.
But now I'm sidetracked. So
you're fine.
Basically he's been leaking shit. And he's got like he was like, or somebody maybe hacked his shit. I don't even give a shit enough to care what happened. But it's one of those things, someone was able to like type in like a word.
Yeah.
You know, and then like you see all the text messages that have that word and then they're like scrolling and
Okay.
Yeah. So basically he himself, Schaub, and then I forget the name of the guy, because the podcast that I listen to that talks about this always referred to him as Big Gay Lion. So I don't, I forget his name.
Yeah.
Oh, it's Mark something or other.
Okay.
So it's between him and Mark is constantly like messaging like Instagram chicks in cities that he's traveling to so he can fuck.
Wow.
Of course he's married with kids.
Oh shit.
So he's just this piece of shit, like pro athlete, you know, because he played football and MMA. But it's like,
I know the MMA. I didn't know. Did you play like professional football or
one of 3 or 4 years out of the league type thing. He played on the Eagles for or maybe 5 years.
Oh wow.
But
okay.
Played in the fucking NFL for a few years, then did MMA for a few years, then retired.
Yeah.
So, but it's how he's like saying it. It's not like, oh hey, you got any bites for this weekend, which might be redeeming. If it's just like, hey, I want to try and have some fun, it's Miami, trying to live. It's like Des Moines, Iowa. It's like
that's how much of a dad I am. I was like, any bites? I was like, what does that mean? Oh, you want to go eat?
No, meaning it's more like innocent. Like, oh hey, is there anything there? If not, we can always just have a drink.
Got you.
Meaning
he's not excuse it away
because he's not pressed. It's literally like, yo, did the baddie hit you back? And it's like this, all his lingo is just like, I'm a scumbag piece of shit in college who's just fucking running through things. 39.
It's like he never grew out of that like American Pie phase. He's still
Someone
like,
hit him in the head when he was like 17 years old.
he just got stuck. Yeah, I wouldn't like him. Yeah, that's.
But it's like they were like, because they were like laughing about it. It's like, you know, like in one day it'll be like 3 or 4 messages like asking like, did she respond back?
Fuck, dude. Like,
So he's like extra pressed to fuck these hot chicks that he sees on Instagram that are in cities that he's like traveling to.
he must have like a massive like insecurity thing. I don't know what the fuck that is.
Oh,
Like,
that's
shit.
how the whole Schaub and Bobby Lee thing started.
Wow. Okay.
It's because he kept trying to fuck everybody at the Comedy Store.
Wow.
He was like trying to ask a chick to like walk him to his car because he didn't feel safe.
That's the story. I
But
heard,
he's
yeah.
like 6'7", like 285.
Professional athlete. I need this lady to help me.
Who was
Yeah.
like a top 5 heavyweight. Like
Yeah.
it wasn't like he
There we
was
go.
just some loser who was like, well, just off my pure athleticism, I'm gonna be an MMA fighter. Like,
Yeah.
he could actually fight to like at least like some degree.
Okay. Yeah.
Like he had,
average Joe.
He
it's
had like good victories. That's what I'm
Right,
saying. It was just
right.
one of those things. Every time he had a big fight, he would just lose.
I see. So you become more of a joke.
But there
I
was
get
times
you.
where he was like a top 5 or a top 10 contender for the heavyweight title. So
I
he
remember.
would be like fluttering in the conversation, then lose the big like a fight to like a good guy, and then drop, and then come back up. And
Damn.
but he, my point is, he
Yeah.
obviously could handle himself.
No, yeah, I hear you. I remember.
And then I think he asked that same chick to like if she wanted to like suck his dick in his truck, and then he kept trying to fuck Kalila, Bobby Lee's girlfriend. Like, so
Wow.
he's just like a fucking dog.
Yeah. I don't with the wife and kids. Like it's,
Well, I mean, if you're that famous, like I get it, you're not gonna
I mean,
be faithful.
if you're that famous and like incidentally think you run into things and you're
But that's my point. Like
I get
that's
that.
why I use the phrase like, oh, you know, any bites, because it's more of like a mild curiosity where it's like,
yeah.
hey, any hot chicks hit us up, knowing that I'm coming into town. It's like, no, so maybe you're looking to see if some chick is like going out of her way to get you, and then you're like, oh, well, anyway, you know, do you want to go to Bojangles? You know,
Yeah.
where like it's more like just this casual, like, yeah, I'd like to fuck a random chick, but I don't need to.
Yeah.
Whereas like he's like, oh, like
actively.
did the baddie message you?
Yeah.
But the funny is they like typed in baddie, so it's just all these messages with baddie.
Batty. Oh.
So they didn't even like read through like full conversations where they're like, oh, well, look at all of this.
Yeah,
it's just
spoon-feeding
baddie.
that. Holy shit, that's terrible. So what's the deal with his? So this guy got cut loose and now he's just venting off and like
No,
exposing all this shit?
he's not. I don't even think he's venting. He's just like, I can tell you who he really is. Because he obviously is probably pissed that he lost his gig.
Yeah.
Because not only was he friends with him, because I think they had their own podcast where they were doing stuff together as like with like other people. It was like him and then Schaub and then like maybe another guy was there and then like comedians would come in and or like guests would come in and they would talk. I think the guy had his own podcast affiliated with it. He was running his social media. So he was a part of a bunch of different things. And I think his podcast just, I mean, he's like one of those bodybuilder, like trying to be an intellectual.
Okay.
So there's a little bit of not genuineness coming from him. I'm saying as far as like people trying to gravitate to him.
Yeah.
So his podcast probably just didn't have a lot of big numbers.
Okay.
I think him and Schaub and maybe one or two, like another guy that was on it, I think left because he didn't want to do it anymore because he was just bored with it. So it just kind of came to this point where he was just like, I think I need to move on because I need to find someone else or whatever.
Yeah.
But the problem is they were really good friends. So now like it's like our podcast blows up and I'm like, it's cool, Robert, but I'm kicking you out.
Sorry, Dad. I gotta get someone on who knows what the fuck we're talking about. I'm like,
You would be like, if you had dirt on me, and we were like in a sphere of like, you might air it just because you're like, well, what the fuck, man? I was more than just your like coworker. Like I wasn't a guy that was just like, hey, I got the camera. Oh, we set to go. It's like, oh man, that game last night was pretty crazy. Like
No, I got
like
you.
we're friends. We're hanging out.
Yeah.
We're like, hey, yo, I've like met all your kids. I'm like, hey. And I'm like,
it just
like a couple months later, I'm like, you're fired.
Yeah. I'll be like, oh shit, man.
So
like that being said,
he's not that angry.
Yeah.
From what I can tell, but it's more of just like, well, now I'm not a part of that anymore. And I think he doesn't come across as somebody that was moving in the way that everybody else was. Like, I don't think he, like, attacked Bobby Lee or something like that. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I think he was just like, oh, these guys are cool. I'm friends with them. We're all doing our thing.
Yeah.
I'm doing my TRT and lifting and being jacked as shit. And I'd like to doing the podcast, and I'm trying to be a funny guy, and I'm trying to build my brand. Oh, and now I'm cut out of that. It's like, oh, well, he's kind of suspect, and here we go.
Yeah. I mean, that being said, it's like there's nothing wrong with like doing stuff or like being friends with people that you're involved in business. Says the person with 10 subscribers on the podcast. But like, I think if you just have like a set of standards, like if there was like a series of conversations about like, hey, I need you to perform at this level, and this is where we're going, this is what we're doing.
I mean, it's always just going to be messy if you're that close.
Yeah.
Like if we were traveling together. Doing like
shit.
Doing stand-up spots, or like I start getting into stand-up and I'm taking you on the road with me so that we can do the podcast together, but then we're helping manage each other. And then we're hanging out together, we're having meals together, we're doing hotels together. It's one of those things, like the relationship is too close that if it from a business standpoint gets splintered, you then have incentive to unleash dirty laundry that you have.
I get that. And I understand that mentality. I'm just thinking like, I think it's weird. Like I think the whole separation between professionalism and like real life.
That's what I mean. As like a boss, you need to be like.
Yeah, exactly. I think
if we got big and we had a camera guy and someone doing production, it would be like all small talk.
Right.
Or like, hey, how's your girlfriend doing? It's like work talk.
I mean,
we can have meaning we're not gonna go on a vacation. Like,
I know, I see what you're saying. Like just because, I mean, it could
unless
be that,
it's a work vacation where it's like, hey, 100,000 subscribers. This is fucking fantastic. We're all going on a trip to Miami. It's not gonna be like, hey, so this weekend we're all going to Albuquerque. Like,
I get you. Yeah. No, and I understand what you're saying. I just think I don't think there's anything wrong with mixing business and pleasure. I think that separation is unnecessarily there. I think it's set there because people don't know how to operate those spaces correctly.
It's like a general. You don't want to be best friends with all your privates because your decisions that you're going to make are going to have them all dead.
Well, yeah, I think that's gonna tug on your heartstrings. Maybe for your benefit as a general more than anything, because it's just like it'll be hard
that's
to
a good example. Like that's why the farther you get up in like the military, the less personal interaction you have with any of these people on the low level, because you're making a decision where now like 65% of that group of 300 people are going to die.
Yeah, but that being said, I don't think it's wrong for a general, for example, to be friends with privates. I think you can maneuver that space, but I think in that specific example, it's hard because it's like...
Yeah, but what happens if I get killed and then you come back and you're like, what the fuck, man?
Yeah.
You're gonna want to murder him because you're friends with him, and he just got all of your friends.
Right. But I think that's more so about a competency thing, where it's like, oh, like did they die because I made a stupid decision, or did they die because sometimes shit goes sideways?
People don't.
Right. But I think if you're, and again, this is a very extreme example because most work relationships aren't. Hey, my choices might end up with you dead, but. if there's the person in charge is
Well, what if you're homeless now and you have no job, or not homeless? You have no job.
Yeah.
And now you have a mortgage to pay.
Yeah, I feel some kind of way. Right.
That's what I'm saying.
And they'll try to tug on the heartstrings.
You'd rather not be best friends with the person who did it to you.
Right. No, I get that. I do understand that. But I'm just saying that I'm not refuting that. All I'm saying is that someone in that position of leadership, it's not wrong for that person per se to reach out and try to establish, or if they want to, or to naturally have
what's
friends.
considered to be wrong?
Well, like to be like, oh well, like
it's not smart.
I think it's.
You should have a distance.
Well, maybe. I don't know. Maybe it is because like maybe you.
It's smart to be close with all of your employees so that when you fire them, they feel incredibly pissed off.
No. I mean, not for that specific purpose, but I think it's smart to, if you're a leader, to be friends or to create that kind of relationship where like you're building a family. So then everybody's encouraged and has buy-in into what you guys are trying to build together, not necessarily.
What are you trying to say?
I'm saying, like, for example, let's say
giving them decency of self-respect.
Yeah,
What are you talking?
Well, I'm talking about like
it's good to like not tell someone they're a cunt face.
no, I mean that is good, but sometimes
I'm not friends with everybody at work, but I like will smile at people and be like, "Why is playing any new video games?" Like,
right?
That doesn't mean I'm developing a relationship.
Yeah, and that's
what are you saying?
Okay, so what I'm saying is like not at work, because at work is like, all right, it's something that we're doing because we have to pay bills.
Instilling like positivity.
Kind of like
so just it's decent leadership. I don't know what you're saying.
Well, let me take you down the rabbit hole. Like let's say.
What are you saying that is different than just being like an effective leader?
Well, I think it's possible that being creating a friendship could make you a more effective leader in specific scenarios. I think so. Like let's say we blow up. Let's say this not literally, but.
Well, don't use us because we're equals.
Yeah, but I'm just, I'm saying we blow up, and not like necessarily me and you, but we blow up, and then we need to hire like, wow, we're doing so good, we're editing so much. We need to bring in somebody to edit. We need to bring in a sound guy. We need to bring in a camera guy. And do all these things, and we develop this relationship with them. It's like, oh yeah, because we're just people. We're just here. We're just talking shit. We're fucking around. And we're talking about big issues of the day, and trying to do it in a nuanced way to help try to solve the problems, to try to maneuver through life the way that it is. And like creating not just work relationships, but friendships with these people, so then they have buy-in into the company or into what we're doing. And they're like, yeah, I'm really about that message. I really like that. So on top of just trying to be like, yeah, it might be a good camera guy who's really good at what they're doing, but because they've bought into the image that we have of what we want to build, then they're just like, okay, I really care about this image. I really care about you guys as people. I've met your families. I've picked up your kids. Blah blah blah.
That's a lot.
Yeah, I know, but I'm just saying, like,
I'm not having a camera guy pick up my kids.
Yeah, I'm saying, for example, for example, because it's like, all right, well, we do this thing. This is incredibly personal. You know what I mean? Like, this is an incredibly vulnerable thing. This is an incredible dedication of time that we're utilizing. I wouldn't want people around that I wouldn't want to fuck with. Like, there's people at work that I don't want to fuck with, but there's also people who I would fuck with whether we're at work or not.
Okay.
And I think that I would like to create an environment where it's like people around me are just all people who I would want to fuck with, and people who buy into the same image.
Well, what happens when they start taking advantage of that?
Then I think that's where the leadership or the conversation that you have with people are, and the difference, like, there doesn't.
And then they tell you to go fuck yourself. You're a douchebag.
Then we
you got a big head.
Okay, that last one's true.
But that all stems from the fact that you're developing too much. You're a boss.
Yeah. But what I'm saying,
you never want someone to think you're an equal.
No, not to think. No. But
that's
not
what you're doing.
No, you're not.
Yes, you are. Why are you telling me you're not?
Okay.
Like, you're not. The way you said that was like, well, in no way, shape, or form would that ever come across.
Okay, well, let me say it like this.
You 100% can.
Well, let me build another metaphor that's probably going to be better.
Why do you argue. Never mind.
No, well, I wanna.
I don't want to say what I.
Go ahead.
You're almost arguing like a woman, where you take these very specific things and then be like, well, this is how it can go. And I'm like, but that's not how it works.
No, I get it. But I'm trying to get a message across, and not that I want to. No, I'm right, but it's like I want you to understand where I'm coming from.
I just want to talk about how shitty Schaub is. And we keep going to these.
I'm sorry. No, but like I think just on the one the monkey bar with Schaub, where it's like, oh, like I don't think being friends with the people that you work with is bad. I'll just continue with the same example. Like I don't want people around me that or around when we're doing this thing that aren't invested in what we're doing. And I think you could develop that relationship. And the thing is that if someone fucks up, then it's like it should be the same thing that you do in your friendship cycle. I don't think there should be a difference between how you operate at work versus how you operate in business. If someone's fucking up, like you just be like, hey man, you're fucking up. Hey man, I need you to be at this level. Hey, you need to do this. You need to do like the same. Like with when you have kids, it's like, hey, you're like, not that you got like I'm friends with my kids, but at the same time, there's a standard that I have to set for them to live up to. And if they fail at that, or if they mess up, then I have to harp down on that. I have to be like, hey, you're not. The same thing with friends. It's like, hey, I see you doing this. You know, I respect that you made this decision, that decision, or you're going this way. This is how I feel about it. This is what I would do with it. And I think that you're wrong in this. So I don't think there's being friends in and of itself is a bad thing. I think it could even be an encouraging thing. It's like a double-edged sword, where like what you're saying, like where it could come back on you because of how close they are in proximity, and the closer they are, the more damage they could do. But at the same time, the closer they are, and if you're building something together,
that only works in like a podcast world.
Maybe
it doesn't work if you're building like a manufacturing company.
Yeah, I guess
there's too many variables and there's too many people.
Yeah.
And then Steve gets a second DUI, and now you have to let Steve go. And you know Steve is married with 3 kids, and Steve now now knows where you live.
Right. But it's like, but like at that point, it's like, yo, Steve,
because he's been to your house 30 times,
and that's why the homicide rate is as high as it is. But I'm not advocating for.
This is exactly what you're picking a very specific thing.
Yeah. No. Well, when the specific thing, let's say in your example with Steve, like you having to fire somebody because they got a DUI, it's like, I mean, maybe that person will be upset, but it's like, hey, that might end the friendship, but at the same time, it's like, hey, we have this thing that we're building, and we're friends.
What the fuck? Nobody thinks like that.
I do.
No, you don't.
I do.
You have best friends that have fired you from jobs.
No, but I have best friends that I would fire or would fire me if I crossed the line.
You would have an emotional reaction to that.
Yeah, and I'm not denying that emotional reaction.
But the whole point is to avoid that.
But I don't think that is the point. I think that's the point of separating it. But I don't think. I don't think that in and of itself. I don't think the fear of that happening.
I need to just keep.
Well, I was like, the fear of that happening in and of itself. I don't think is enough to be like I shouldn't be involved.
I'm gonna be so excited when
something terrible.
No, not something terrible. When all your optimism gets crushed.
Something terrible.
No, it doesn't have to be a terrible event. It's just the optimism in you when that gets crushed.
Now, man, I have a big head. You know, I got optimism all up in here.
I want one day you're just gonna say something just very pessimistic, and I'm gonna be like.
No, man, I don't think it's gonna happen.
No, it's not. That's who you are.
But I think that's a good thing. Like, I remember.
Of course, you think it's a good thing.
Well, I mean, I think
because you're optimistic, you don't see how it can be negative.
That's a good point. That's a great point. But that's a great point.
Optimism can't necessarily be it.
You know, but I mean, there's dangers to both extremes, right? Like if you're and this is funny enough. These are conversations that I have with my wife all the time because she's super pessimistic. I'm very optimistic, and so she's always checking me because she's just like, "Yo, you gotta like watch out for this, watch out for that," and she makes me aware of things that I wouldn't have even thought to look twice at. And I check her because I'm like, hey, open yourself up to this, open yourself up to that, this experience, this person. Because she's so guarded, she doesn't allow herself to have or to make the relationships or the connections with people or experiences that would make her happier. And I think that there's a need for both. I don't think that one, being optimistic is the right way or being pessimistic is the right way.
I'll give you that.
I think you need a balance of both.
You don't want to be too pessimistic because then that's like almost self-fulfilling prophecies of failure.
Yeah, exactly.
Because you're expecting for things to go bad or expecting to not get the job or whatever.
Yeah, and then you manifest those thoughts, and then when you go in for that interview, it's like it's showing on your, I'm not going to get this anyway, so you're just not going to care while you're talking and they're asking these questions. They might be
or you might not be prepared enough for it.
Yeah. So, so that's all I'm saying. I'm saying that the whole thing about being friends with the people you work with, isn't. No. Let me finish this point.
Position of power.
From a position of power, being friends.
It's okay for me to be friends with you.
Right.
And to go hang out. Hey, you want to go see the movies?
Yeah,
sure. It's a difference if I'm like 8 steps ahead of you and I'm like, you're fired.
Well, I don't think so. I think there's the pessimistic part of that relationship, looking at a relationship between 8 level up boss versus the ground worker, the grunt, the general and the grunt, is okay. Well, if I make this decision, or if I mess up, or if I'm even perceived as messing up because there was a bad result, but that was just bad shit happening, then I'm going to be blamed, and that's going to ruin that relationship, and that's going to make me feel like shit, and now I've put in jeopardy the lives of my family, and I don't want to do that. That's the pessimistic part of it. But the optimistic side of that is, well, if I'm friends with all the grunts, they'll be extra motivated because they know that they could come talk to me if they think that this plan is whacked out. And now I have a direct line to boots on the ground and understand the situation beyond what the situational reports would give me. There's nothing like personal, what is it called? Primary sources. So it's a benefit. Possibly.
Okay.
The same way that it could be a negative. Possibly. I'm just saying, in and of itself, isn't a bad thing.
Okay.
That's all I'm saying.
I'll let that go.
That's all I was trying to say. But I mean, back to the Schwab thing. It's like
Schwab?
Is that his name?
Schaub.
Schaub.
Schwab is the investment.
Yeah, Charles Schwab. Yo, whoops. Schaub. Okay, my bad. So back to Schaub. I remember when I was I think I just started driving, or my friend just started driving, and we're psyched about that, and we just stayed in and played video games all day. And his brother was going out drinking, celebrate with him and his boys, and he was just like, yeah, we're all gonna get drunk. He's like, can you guys drive us? And like, yeah, cool. He's like, yeah, but I don't think you guys could come in, so you could just drop us off or something. And we were just like, nah, it's cool. We'll drop y'all off, and we were just gonna get something to eat anyway. So we dropped them off. We grabbed something at McDonald's, and we're just sitting in the car. We're just bullshitting. And we're just talking about life and all that. And I remember seeing these older guys just come out the club, and they're just like, yeah, and this girl, and yeah, I was talking to this girl, what about this one, this baddie. So when you're talking about Schaub, I'm thinking about that moment when they're just like, hey, remember this baddie?
When was this?
I was probably 19 or 20.
I mean, that's normal though.
Yeah, but I mean, like,
you're talking about the mindset.
Yeah. Like I remember seeing it. I remember seeing that. And I was just like, yeah. I was like, yeah, we'll go in there because I think it was a 21 and up club or something like that. And I was like, yeah, we'll go. Like, we might be able to do that next year, the year after that. I was like, yeah, that'll be chill. But I was like, but I don't don't want to do that 20 years later like these guys. Like these guys are like, gray hair, like balding, like, and they still look like they were dressed nicely and all that. But it was just like, I want to enjoy that lifestyle. I don't want to enjoy that lifestyle for 20 years. Like that's not something that I aspire to. So I know some people love that club scene, but I'm just like, I enjoyed it for sure, but I didn't want to stay there. And so, and I just knew it. That's something that we were talking about. It's just like, and even when we got old enough to go into those 21 and up clubs and stuff like that, and even when we were in the 18 and up clubs, like it was just chill. Like our goal was to be like, yo, I'm in here, like, yeah, of course, like fat ass. Hey, look at that girl. Da, da, da. Yeah, I mean, we were doing that, batty. But our goal was like, all right, I'm gonna go in here, and I'm gonna have a good time. So it wasn't like, oh, I'm gonna get these numbers. Oh, I'm gonna do this, because it's like you're just vulturing. You're not even enjoying the experience unless you get the result. Whereas if you just go in and have a good time, I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna have these drinks. I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna dance. I'm gonna go in, I'm gonna talk to everybody. And you do that, it's just like, okay, sometimes stuff will happen. And if stuff happens, then it's like, not positive. If stuff doesn't happen, that was a great experience. You have a bunch of great stories.
You're just trying to go out and have fun.
Yeah, so I think not doing that, I mean, I could understand a younger kid, like...
Step away from...
Oh, okay.
No, I'm just farting.
Yeah. Oh, thank you.
I'm not trying to...
Just destroy me.
Leak it all over you.
Fair. Like to bend over. That was a fart. You said, But it's like, I could understand like people who are younger who are just like, just trying to do this, or if you're out of a breakup and you're just like playing the rebound game and you're just like, hey man, I'm just going after it. Or if you're like situationally, it's like, oh man, like I just fell into it, and then now I have a Austin Powers moment. This is what it is. But I don't understand if you're like reached another stage of life and that's what you want, and I'm guessing that's what he wanted because that's what he has. I mean, you can't just. I guess you could accidentally have a wife and kids.
What?
Like I'm thinking about like, oh, people like. I'm trying to get my thoughts together. I'm saying like it's for someone who like actively, like, you had to approach this person. You engaged in sexual activity.
What are you talking
about? Had kids, Schaub, and like you had kids. You approached this person.
Well, having a family really doesn't mean anything.
Yeah, I guess so. I guess
it's a combination of having a family and your age.
Yeah, but it's like
if you're 45, married with 3 kids, what do you like? Relax.
Yeah, it's just if that's
just
what you
ease up a little bit.
Yeah, I guess it's strange. I don't understand when people value that single chasing the baddies lifestyle while simultaneously playing an active role in being a father and a husband. Like, I could understand, like, oh, you're rich and famous, the fame got to you. Oh, incidentally, this fell into your lap. Oh, sometimes you're looking for it, sometimes you're not. Or maybe you argue with the wife and then you feel some kind of way. You guys aren't communicating, trying to work things out. So you're just trying to blow off steam and then you blow a load. I get those things. I don't get actively being as pressed, like looking up Instagram thoughts from city to city just because you happen to be in the same vicinity for the possibility of getting some trim and being so pressed on that.
It seems
wow,
at
the same time. Yeah. I don't get it. That's a different world. So
it's a world that you're not used to.
Yeah. But yeah, so I'll just be confused if I knew Schaub on a personal level. I'd just be like, I don't get it. Explain this to me. Like, just if you want to live that lifestyle, just tell the missus, like, hey,
no, he's just an idiot.
Baby mama status, love you, take care of the kids, but I'm gonna do me. Just be honest. Like, hey, this is what I like.
No, but he's just an idiot.
Yeah. So I think I have a suspicion that conversation will turn into a.
I'm sorry, not everybody's stupid.
No, I'm just like I would give him the benefit of the doubt and would have that conversation, but I have the suspicion that conversation isn't gonna lead to a good place.
Probably not.
I don't know if I would understand it because honestly, I'm not sure if he understands it, or maybe it's pessimistically. Optimistically, he'll be like, "Yeah, you're right. I should just tell the missus like, hey, I don't want this anymore, and I want to do fuckboy shit."
But that's
or
those can be one of you can want both.
Yeah, that's true. But it's like if you wanna, you can't run right and left at the same time. Like I can see.
You can.
I mean,
doesn't mean that it's right, but like.
Not, I guess you can't see a destination on your right and a destination on your left and run towards both of them and think that you're gonna reach the destination as much as you would if you commit to one direction and head in that way. Like you have to know that you're gonna be stuck in this circling pattern because you're going right, then you go left, and then you go right, then you go left. And if you're okay doing that, then you can be, but I think that's selfish though. It's like that show. Remember that show that I got super pissed about? You got super pissed about the girl, the lady who's married, kids, taking care of the kids, and she's thinking about getting blasted.
Oh, the sex sex life or whatever.
Whatever. Yeah. So it's like, wait.
You watched some of it, right?
I watched 10 minutes.
I told you, because I told you to, right?
Yeah.
I told you to, and then like you were like, I'm done.
Yeah. I was like, oh, I'll watch it, and then I told the missus about it. She's like, oh yeah, I saw a preview for that, and then we're watching it, and we're just like, what the fuck is this? Like, it doesn't make sense. It's like, if you want to be a mom, you want to be a wife, like, all right, that's left. If you want to do that fuckboy shit, like that's in this direction. Like it's hard to do both, to run in both directions, but you can. You'll just be in a circling pattern, and you're just gonna be fucking up everybody in your path. The people that you're fucking around with you're not gonna have as much time with them because you're trying to commit to this other person or commit to this other objective, and this other objective is thinking that you're running towards this goal with them. But then you're just fucking around and running the other way. It's like, yo, why don't you just say it? Why don't you just tell me? There's plenty of people in relationships, what's it called? Swingers. When they like, hey, we just like fucking other people. Cool, let's fuck other people together. There's plenty of relationships like that. So if you want both, that's what that looks like. And I'm sure plenty of swingers have kids. So, I mean, you can have both. Just be honest about both so you're not fucking anybody over. Be a decent human being, essentially. Like, just imagine what you would want in that position. And if you just like fucking around people, then just be honest. Or
that's not how it works.
But why not?
Because that's not how human beings work.
But they should. And I think that would be way more beneficial, like all parties involved. Or I'm sure there's plenty of people who are just like, hey, I like fucking around, but I don't want you to fuck around. And some people are like, that's unfair. Some people be like, you know what? If it's with you, I'll take that. I'll take that deal. Some people, you'll find them. There's billions of people out here. You don't think you want to find one that's gonna ride with you? Whatever your perspective is, like that. I think that's insane. So yeah, I would be confused if I sat down with Schaub. I was just like, hey, like what are you doing? Like I don't understand this. Like, if you want this, go for that. If you want that, go for this. Or if you want that circling pattern, find somebody who wants to hold with you. Or if you want to be in a circling pattern, you want that person to stay right there, say that. There are people out here. Or it could be selfish asshole. Essentially, that's what I would say, but in nice words. I wouldn't say like, hey man, you're being a selfish asshole. I'll be like, hey, like, this is what you're doing. This is what I think. This is what I would do. Like, maybe not do. Hey, how about this? Hey, I know somebody who's in this kind of relationship. I know someone in that kind of relationship. There's so many there's crazy ass stories. Like
maybe you should try being in that type of relationship.
I don't want.
No. Meaning that's like the advice. Yeah, there's people that have that type of relationship. Maybe you should try.
Exactly. Yeah. Stop being selfish, and then after, then he'll contemplate it, and then makes a decision, or not. Then I'll be like, dude, you're being a selfish asshole, and that's where that goes. But yeah, so that's my feelings on Schaub, without knowing too much about him and watching probably 20 minutes total of everything cumulative of who he is as a person. But yeah, man, I mean, looking at things from different perspectives, and the optimistic side, the pessimistic side, and everything in between. Like, there's so many different combinations of people that are out there, and I think the big problem in today's world is like just everybody's assumes the worst of the person who doesn't look at the world the way that they do, and they just fire against them, and it's just unnecessary. So here at Intelligent Intellectuals, we'll have unintelligent and intellectual conversations about what's going on. But there's a danger to like, what was our master plan? I was trying to pull this up and put it on there so it'd just be easier to see.
No.
Fucking Wi-Fi.
No, it's
you know
okay.
What? Problem solved. I'm gonna do this.
What?
Oh, technology!
What are you doing?
I'm gonna put it up right here. No, it's touchscreen. Never mind. I lied. Just in case it accidentally pressed the stop button. But the master plan today was to talk about the transgender bill down in Florida. But
is this a continuation off of the Don't Say Gay, or is this something different?
It's a separate bill, but I think people are put it together just.
What's that one about?
The
new one.
Oh, the new one is and I had a fucking reference and thing in my internet, but shit. But you could pull up an article. It's just pretty much it's banning Medicaid for hormone therapy.
It's the therapy and the surgery.
Transition
right?
surgery.
Okay.
Yeah.
For minors.
No. It bans it for Medicaid, and then it makes it illegal for minors.
So legal for minors and then not funded by the government.
Exactly. But the way that that's some people would read it.
I like how sorry.
Go ahead.
No, you finish your thought.
No, the way that some people read it is like, because they're attaching to the Don't Say Gay thing, they're like, which I get why. Like, it's part of this agenda against the people that he sees as other. Yeah, the LGBT community. So you're saying first we can't say gay in the classrooms, and now we can't even be trans? And so that's enough to set people be angry and to look at things from that perspective, that negative mindset, as opposed to looking at it and thinking the best out of, maybe this person is trying to do this thing in order to safeguard against some of the real dangers that exist in this space, not because transgender people are dangerous, but because you utilize transgenderism to talk to kids about sex. A lot of pedophiles would use that as a guise in order to infiltrate and get their rocks off. The same way that the Catholic Church, with all the youth groups, gives pedophiles an arena to infiltrate in that sphere and to talk to those children and deal with that without having to necessarily go to college and have a degree. It's like I'll just say I'll read these scriptures and I'll care about this, and especially if they somewhat feel guilty or want to reconcile what they're doing, and then they just jump into that space and they're just like, I fucked this boy, but I said sorry, so I'm okay. I prayed.
I fucked this boy.
But
Bussy.
oh god. But yeah, I think there's so many things that are happening that there's so many. Everyone assumes the worst out of the other person as opposed to assuming the best, and to know that there's everything in between. Like, there's really good people who don't understand this and think that it's a detriment and before I go anymore, you go ahead. What were you gonna say?
Oh, to backtrack.
Yeah.
I like how the argument for this is like we have to protect trans kids, and I was like, well, like, how does lobbing off a 7-year-old's dick protect him?
Yeah. That's They would.
It makes no logical sense.
I struggled.
Like, it's not like people are trying to put laws in. It's like, no, the children need to be in indoctrination camps, and they need to be taken away from their families, and they need to go through a religious teaching center.
Yeah.
It's like, well, we have to protect trans kids. This is ridiculous. Like, that would make sense, but it's like, lobbing off 9-year-old penises and cutting off the tits of a 12-year-old is something that we think we should wait till you're of legal adult to make that decision. You don't want to protect trans kids? It's you're the one that wants to cut off appendages.
Yeah.
Before they're even like 15.
And I wish I had. I don't know if I have this video set up, but like they were. I was struggling to try to figure that out too, and what came out was because a lot of people are. I probably don't. Yeah, because I have all the other shit. Like people. Because there's higher rates of suicide, and especially in the transgender community, and especially amongst trans youths, and because they don't feel like they belong, and they're so upset with their anxiety and the depression that they end up offing themselves. So the logic that the other side has is that, well, because you're denying care to people who are transgender who aren't stable enough to have a high-paying job, to be able to have their own private insurance, to be able to pay for whatever surgery or hormone treatment or blockers, then that means you're stopping. You're essentially feeding the suicide pipeline in their minds. And I saw a video of this lady who was like shouting at this. Is
this the one that the hearing? Or is this something completely different?
I think it was a hearing. I only saw a snippet. But like she was just like, "You're killing our kids. You don't care about their lives." I was like, "Holy shit!" Like, because they were like, "Oh well, the suicide rate is high. You doing this is going to create more suicide. You're killing our kids."
There's no evidence at all that supports that. In fact, it's probably the opposite. It's probably worse.
I get it. I get what they're saying. I do understand, because it's like, oh, well, you are creating a situation that's going to make people who are already at the tipping point to spill over. So
but you've created them to be at that tipping point.
Right, and I think that's what the conversation needs to be, as opposed to like, you're killing the kids. It's like, no, like,
you should probably be settling them down and not letting them be that emotional.
Yeah,
because there's no reason why a child should be that emotional about an issue.
And I think that's the issue. I think
like there are kids who have like complete and utter mental breakdowns because like a teddy bear got its arm, kind of sliced open.
Yeah.
It's like maybe you should try and regulate their emotions a little bit better.
Yeah,
because that's not normal.
But like there's a growing I don't know, what was it, culture or thought process of allowing kids to be kids, or kids to be who they are. So like letting them express themselves and respecting it. But so some people take it to the extreme route where they're just like, not just like, oh, you're coming from this point, I respect it, but this is where I'm coming from, and you're gonna have to follow these rules because of these reasons. Instead of that, they'll take it to the extreme route. Some people will, and they'll be like, oh, you feel this way? And they just fully like, whatever you want. You feel like you want a pony? Let's go out and buy a pony. You want to go to Disney World? I'm gonna sell the house. Let's go. You want to be a girl? Chop your dick off and let's do it. Like some people. Like there's like a growing. I think there's a growing culture around that. Maybe because some previous generations were super hard on the kids. And now their kids are adults or grandparents, and they want to make things easier for the next generation. And so now they're taking the pendulum and swinging the complete opposite direction. Like in Grown Ups, when it's just like, it was 5 + 5. He's like 32. He's like, That's right. Good job. So
And doesn't Adam Sandler say like, it's Chris Rock who says that, right?
no. It wasn't Chris Rock. It was the big
Kevin
guy
James.
who was
Kevin James.
I think that's his name. Yeah.
It's the
I don't
big
know
white
his name.
dude.
Yeah.
Kevin James.
Yeah. Got it, buddy. Keep going. It's like we're doing this self-esteem thing, and I think that's what it is. And because they behave that way, which is like good for the kids, because it's like the kids are like, wow, I'm loved, I'm cared for, I'm respected, and what I say matters. But it's bad because emotional volatility. Teddy bear gets sliced, they're breaking down. You know, someone disagrees with them, they don't understand, they can't listen to it. There's people that they're grown people at serious jobs who can't. Oh, I can't listen to that. I can't hear that. Why? What? Making your ears bleed? You're gonna implode on the inside. Like, what's wrong with listening to someone just disagrees with you? Like, I can understand being like, oh, I don't like listening to stuff like that, or oh, that sounds fucking stupid. Da, da, da. But like, I can't listen to it, and then like,
Oh, there's a lot of stuff I can't listen to anymore.
it just. I think that's.
There's a lot of fundamental breakdowns now. Like
Yeah, but I think. Well, I guess it's because I'm looking at it from
there's
the
too many
perspective-
different extremes that are out there that it's pretty hard to listen to.
It's hard to listen to, but and again, my
Like
I
Malcolm
think what my
Gladwell.
goal. Yeah. But I went in deep and listened to it. I listened to a lot of Malcolm Gladwell. Like, what the fuck is happening here? But that's because my goal, my desire is to try to bridge this gap of understanding between people who look at things way different. Some people are just like, oh, this guy's too far gone.
But they're not even looking at things differently.
I think they are. Like,
No.
What do you mean by the...
It's all either a manipulation or it's them dishonestly talking about the issues.
And I think that...
Like, we'll say Roland.
Yeah.
I'm assuming you know what I'm talking about when I say Roland.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So probably not Roland Tomasi. not the music guy. Yeah, no.
Okay, so Roland. So he adopts all of the new words in the culture of like whiteness and anything coming out of like critical race theory, of which he wasn't adopting or discussing or addressing or even remotely even possibly considering talking about any of that stuff 7 years ago.
Right.
Or 5 years ago.
But
now the way he talks about it, it's like, well, we all know.
Yeah.
Where it's like, but you didn't even mention this 5 years ago. Like, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
So it's either completely dishonest or it's people that are just, they want to be progressive and they've accepted gay people and they don't see anything wrong with it. And then now it's just, well, I support the LGBTQ community and that was already there. And then now, like, they don't even know what's going on into it. They just know that when it's brought up, they defend it or they support it.
Yeah. No, yeah, and I agree.
That's what I mean. So, like, listening to
I hear what you're saying.
listening to somebody to talk about that, it's like, I don't need it.
I hear you. Yeah, not net negative, like net zero. I'm not getting anything from this. No, I get that.
And until you're able, and unless you have the patience to talk to them and let them know how fucking stupid they are, then there's the like what is there to gain?
Right.
To having a debate, it's like, oh, I'm debating with somebody who's an idiot who doesn't know. I mean, they're an idiot because they don't even know why they think the way they're thinking.
I hear what you're saying. We don't have to reopen that. Like, I hear what you're saying, and especially with Roland, because it's like after.
That's just the first name that came to mind. But
no, I got you.
There's there's a laundry list.
Right. Like, specifically with him and people like him,
like,
it's like I would watch something like Malcolm
Like Cornel
Gladwell.
West doesn't really talk like that.
Not at all. No.
And I think he's always said whiteness, but that's been like It's like a.
And then he'll explain what he means by it.
It's like that intellectual 1970s like.
By whiteness, my brother, I'm not talking about white people. I'm talking about the perpetual thing.
It's not
systems in place that systematically keep people like.
He hasn't changed how he talks, at least to my knowledge.
Right. And I know what you're saying. Like, for example, with that specific example with Roland and people like that, like I'll watch something, and because I'm trying to bridge the gap, I'm doing exactly like you said. I'll dive in deep. Like, after the Patrick Bet David thing, I was like, because you're like, oh, yeah, this would be a good one to dive into. And I look at it, I'm like, oh, this fucking guy. Oh, my God. So then I did a deep dive, and I started looking into him and a lot of stuff that he's looking at. But it's because I was looking at it for the specific purpose of, okay, I'm going to sit down here, I'm going to have the patience, I'm going to look into what he's talking about. These are my notions and what I understand from what I know right now. Let me look into the details. Let me look at what's what. And see where everything lands. Let me see the way that this guy operates. All right, let's proceed to create an episode to rip him a new one. Hence why we're doing this whole thing. But, so yeah, I get it. I get things from that perspective, but I think that it's important to, and I understand some people who are just like, I don't have the patience to deal with it. I think it's a fair admission, not right now, can't deal with it, or not ever, don't want to waste my time. Time is finite. Oops. I don't want to spend any time doing that. You missed. But I understand that. For me, since my goal is different, I think it's important to bridge the gap and understand where two sides are coming from. I think it's good to dive into the details and ask those questions and to really dive into.
I think that only works when you're talking to somebody who
is willing to change or
no. Who understands what they're talking about.
Okay. I think...
Like Roland in that... What were they fucking talking about where he like...
It was...
Where he was flip-flopping?
Well, we'll
defunding the police.
Yeah.
Roland wasn't trying to actually debate anything. He was just... What can I do to win this argument?
Yeah.
And at no point am I going to have any ethics in figuring out how to do that.
Well, I think he was like, for example, that's a good example. Like, I think that showcased like how astute and smart he was because he was able to like.
That's.
Well, let me finish.
That's 8th grade intellectual. I mean, at least for me, because I'm more used to like just these unbelievable like word things where it's like I'm trying to follow Cornel West and I can't figure it out. And he's really combating what Ben Shapiro's saying or whoever the fuck. And then it's like, well, that's a good point. And then like I'm like lost trying to follow this.
Yeah, I think
if I can follow everywhere where you're going, and then halfway through I start laughing to myself.
Yeah.
You're like
that's your metric of intelligence.
Yeah, you're like this is middle school debate tactics.
I get that.
It's what your mommy has a stinky breath. It's like, well, I heard your mom fart. It's like, well, you know what? Your dad also has stinky breath.
Yeah,
and it's like, okay.
Yeah, I think I hear what you're saying. I understand. I get that. And the reason why I dive into it is because like. I don't think I could talk on that level, and I think and it's not necessarily that I think I'm smarter than Roland. I think it's that I can see what Roland doesn't see. So, like, Roland doesn't even know what he's missing. So, like, in that...
Roland?
Yeah.
No, he does.
I don't know if he sees it. I think he really believes what he's saying. I don't think he knows what he's missing.
Come on.
I think he has no idea. There's a lot of people...
That's like saying Don Lemon doesn't know what he's missing.
I'm sure he doesn't.
You think that?
Yeah.
You're not smart as I thought.
Yeah, because you're laughing.
He had... 2013, he had a segment, 5 things black people need to do to better themselves.
Right.
Pull up their pants, stop saying the N-word.
I could not believe that was him. I remember.
Yeah, but I'm saying.
I mean, because I saw it. That moment.
It was a time and place in society where we could look at black people and say, "What are you doing? Pull up your pants. You look like a fucking animal," or something like that. And no one would say that's racist.
Right. There was a guy.
Most people, I mean, the reaction would either be like, they need to pull up their pants, or it'd be like, oh, fuck this piece of shit.
Yeah,
and then everyone would go on about their way. Or what is Don Lemon now?
Yeah.
This is people who do that, they know what they're doing.
Well, I don't think that they know what they're missing.
They're placating to their audience. Roland's audience isn't white rural conservatives.
Yeah, but I don't think
it's white elite liberals and blacks. That's who he represents.
Yeah, but
so he doesn't want to deviate from anything.
Right.
Just like Bill Maher, his audience is relatively liberal, but calling out bullshit. So he's got to be a liberal who does everything he can to be truthful. Well, so if he thinks Russiagate is a bunch of bullshit and there's no evidence behind it, and what are we doing?
Yeah.
He has to say it, because if he doesn't say it, his audience leaves him.
Well, I think it's that's true to a certain extent, but I also think that different people have motivations in order to dive into the details. Mm-hmm. For example, so let's see. I'll start with Roland. So I think Roland is exactly as you say. He's placating to this specific audience, and because he's placating to this specific audience,
following
and his
guidelines.
Yeah, and that's what his whole thing is built off of. I think he's willing to do whatever he needs to do in order to make sure that thing grows. That's what his incentive. He's created the incentive structure in order to follow what the majority of his audience is looking for. So because of that, he gets stuck in the web of confirmation bias, which I think is what happens to most people. I think most people get stuck in confirmation bias. Oh, I believe this, so I'm going to look into that. I'm going to look for the number 23 if I find it, or if I find 32, and then I'll look at it backwards. Oh, it's 23. There it fucking is. I told you. So it's like, I think a lot of people get stuck. I think Roland is a good example. I think he really does believe what he...
I don't think he does at all. I think he's following...
Well, let me finish. I think he's following the playbook because it helps support him, and I think that by following the playbook, that supports him. That's a confirmation in and of itself. Oh, this is the accolades that I'm getting for talking about this. This must be what the reality is. Because not that he's not smart enough to look into the details, but he's not motivated to find a dissenting opinion. Because he found something. He found his number 23. So now he's just going to keep on, there it is, there's 23. This is why it's 23. This is how obnoxious I'm going to shout
I'm not
people
saying
out
this
in order
correctly
to...
because I'm poorly communicating.
Maybe. I don't know.
I'm not saying he doesn't have the basis for those beliefs. I'm saying the manner of which he discusses them is not necessarily how he truly believes.
Yeah. No, I understood. I understood you correctly.
I'm not saying he's not liberal or that he doesn't think that there are, systemic problems with.
And you might be right.
That affect black people.
Yeah.
I think he believes that, but I think to the degree of how he talks is going to depend on where the culture's going, and not based off his own actual opinions. Just like the Don Lemon thing.
Yeah.
And Don Lemon might have actually believed that black people probably shouldn't just be running around yelling the N-word and having pants hanging below their ass.
Yeah.
Because why would anyone hire that? You're an idiot.
Yeah.
You're behaving like trailer park trash that have meth head parents.
Or what was... Or what was the fucking... Was it Colin Kaepernick who just came out with that documentary? It was like... Oh, my parents were so mean to me. They said something about hair. Like
they said you don't want to look like a thug.
Yeah.
And then Charlemagne shitted on him, and he said that's exactly what my dad said.
Yeah.
To me.
And my folks were the same way, especially because they're from overseas. So
But this is just like the fucking Meghan Markle thing.
Yeah.
What color's the baby gonna be? Everybody thinks that when you're having a different, especially black and light.
Right, but let me go back.
Whether it's like light-skinned Latino, Asian, white people, if it's like a black person.
It's like, I wonder how that's gonna. Is it gonna be this trait? Is it gonna be that trait? Is it gonna
they're
be
gonna get
blend?
the blue eyes. Do you have any
gonna,
uncles? Or
what's
like,
the hair gonna be like? I'm hoping for this, but if we get that, that's cool. We'll work with it. It happens.
but those are conversations.
Yeah. No, that's true.
Right?
It's true. No, 100%.
Like someone's dad is gonna be like, that baby better come out black, but if it got your hair, I'm not gonna complain. Like, you know,
right.
It's gonna be shit like that.
So I mean, like going back to Roland, I think also, like, I understand what you're saying, and I'm not saying that you're not right because you could be right. I don't know. Roland,
I just don't think he's that stupid.
He's
been too.
well, I think so I don't think that it's because he's stupid.
No,
I think it's
all
because
these debates, like Malcolm Gladwell, right?
Yeah.
Anybody who had. So, like Matt Taibbi and Douglas Murray they are more or less being representative of Republicans in that debate center.
Yes.
Even though neither
don't.
of them are Republicans.
Yeah. I don't know about Douglas Murray, but I think Matt Taibbi's pretty liberal. But I'm sure now he's not feeling the love.
He's a more traditional Democrat.
Yeah.
Where, like, you know, so welfare programs are good and helping people the best you can with aid is good.
Yeah. I don't know enough about Douglas Murray to really say.
Douglas Murray is... I have no idea what he is.
Yeah. But
I know he's an open homosexual.
Yeah, that I do.
And he's not born in this country.
Which explained the cattiness and how good he was at snapping back. I was like, fuck yeah. Yeah, like he was just fucking sharp. Like, you know how... Oh, go ahead.
In terms of that debate, they were representing conservatives.
Mm.
At least the feel of that vibe.
Right.
So anybody that would be on the opposite side, anything Malcolm Gladwell is saying is just holy shit.
Mm.
They're just jerking off and maintaining their erection while he's saying it. It's not. They're not going like, well, he didn't say white people. He just said that, you know, people in general trusted that news because it didn't come across as if it was catering to somebody.
Yep.
And then Malcolm Gladwell turns around and says, you know, oh, well, he wants the era where only white men. And I was like, yeah, that's a good point.
Mm.
Like,
yeah.
I mean, he comes out and says, skull fucking white babies is the new orange is the new black. And then people are going to be like, we should start skull fucking white children.
Yeah.
Because you're telling people who are just going to think a certain way, and anybody that says anything, we're good. So Roland coming out there and saying like, they don't want to defund all the police. How many people wanted to say that? Anybody who's on Roland's side is just going, you tell that fucking dirty Arab. Like, they don't.
But
they're
like,
looking at Bet David and fuck his Iranian ass.
Oh,
they don't like him because he's pushing back on Roland, and Roland is the one who's he's defending black suffrage. So it doesn't like anything they say.
And I think what that stems from is at its core, nobody really knows what's going on. And because they don't know what's going on, they don't know enough about these situations, they latch on to an ideological belief in order to feel more secure in what's happening. Because if it's just like, I don't know what the fuck is happening, I don't know what the fuck's going on, I don't know how to figure it out, I don't know who to go to, I don't know who to trust, that's pandemonium. People are going to go fucking crazy.
Yeah, but most people don't care. Most people are lazy.
Well, I think most people get locked into an ideological belief in order to feel secure. Which is a nice way of saying what you just said. It's a nice. I like saying it in a nice way because it's like I don't want anybody to feel attacked.
I'm that way with gun control.
Okay.
The moment anybody opens their mouth about guns, I immediately wall up. They can go fuck themselves.
Yeah.
Just because I've had too many times, like where I just don't trust anybody who wants to.
And I think that's the key. I think it's the trust. So, like for example, for all these people, when I see and I'm like this in general. Which is probably why I'm optimistic to a fault. Or like I'll take what I see. Like if this person says this, okay. This is what it is. This is what they believe. This is what they think. This is how they feel. There's nothing else beneath the surface. Like, I might have a suspicion based on how they're acting, based on how they're moving, based on what they're doing. I'm like, hey, are you sure? Like, my wife, all the time. Are you okay? Are you like still slamming plates and shit? Yeah, what's going on? You fine? Fine. I'm like, okay. Because I'm not gonna get to the bottom of that. But like for me, it's just like, okay, I might surmise this, but for whatever reason she doesn't want to tell me, I'll take it at face value, and then she'll either tell me or she won't. And I think that's the big thing when it comes to all these people, all these that I don't know personally, and I see them for brief moments of time, and they're pontificating on whatever platform or ideology that they have, and they're spewing out whatever they believe, whether I think it's this way or that way, right or wrong, or detailed or not. I take it for what it is. I'm like, okay, he's saying that, that's what that person believes. And I don't even think twice about it, because they're not in my personal life, and I don't even do it with my wife. There's no fucking way I'm doing that with these other people. So that's what
don't even do it with my wife.
Yeah. So,
damn if I deal with this.
Yeah, there's no fucking way. I'm just not. There's so much. It's so much of a rabbit hole. You could wait, but they acted this way. What do they mean by this? Or this is the way that they texted. What do they mean by that? Or this is who they were talking to. This is who they're friends with. It's like there's not enough time in the day. Like I'll go crazy.
Right.
So I'll take it as I see it. So, but that being said, I'm not saying that my way of seeing things is the right way. I'm saying it's just the way that I choose to see things. And so it's what you're saying is possible, and I think it's based off of the last thing you said, off of whether you trust them or not. I'll trust whatever somebody says just because they said it. If I distrust what they say, then it's like, oh, there might be another underlying thing right there. Like I don't trust that what they're saying is what they actually believe. So it could be either or. It could be either he believes it or he doesn't believe it. But for me, the reason why not necessarily to defend why I believe that, what they say is what I believe, but for people who believe in what they're saying, it's just a confirmation for them. And so because of that, I don't look at the likes of Roland or Patrick Bet-David or Matt Taibbi or Malcolm Gladwell. I don't look at them as people necessarily. I look at them more as symbols, and I think that the symbols need to be exposed if what they're saying is wrong, regardless of how they internally feel inside. If what they're saying is wrong, and it needs to be exposed. If it's right, it needs to be expressed more. It needs to be repeated. So I like dive into the details on that surface level of what I see. So based off of that, like when it comes to Roland, it's like, okay, well, he's saying these things, and so
do you know who Derek Jackson is?
Well, let me finish. So okay. I think that's pretty complete. Go ahead. There's Derek Jackson.
Do you remember Derek Jackson? That YouTuber that was like all about like black women, and he was wrote like a book or two. Really catering towards black women, and then it came out that of course.
That he was.
Of course, he's like cheating.
Yeah. But he was pontificating. Yeah, men should never do this, and then it's like turns out like
ladies, you can never be with a man that cheats, and then he's like knocking up like a.
I remember that.
But it's like that, like.
I see. And that's based on trust.
When you see it, no. I'm just saying when you see a guy saying all that, you know he's full of shit.
Well,
he doesn't believe that.
Well, I think it's possible. No. That's what I'm saying. I'm saying it's possible.
I mean, of course, it's possible, but
optimistically, it's also.
No, but you can't. Maybe I'm.
Well, let me say it this way.
You might be horrible at reading people, and that's why.
Oh no, I'm the worst. I'll refuse to read. I'm like, nope. I want to be illiterate. Like I will not. I will not do it. I will not. I'd be terrible for certain jobs.
No, there are some people that when they talk, you know that there is. It's real, and then there are some people where you know it's not.
Yeah, and I get what you're saying, but and again, like
I mean, it's like listening to Nancy Pelosi talk about the black community. You can tell she doesn't care. not that she wants bad things to happen to black people, but
Right.
you can tell it's like, oh, this is just a statement you're saying. Like,
Yeah.
There's like, you don't give two flying fucks what happened to really anybody. You're just, you have your power, you're maintaining your power,
Yeah.
power, and then you need to say things, and this is you saying things.
Yeah. I see what you're saying. That
Like, white
and
people we need to sit back and listen. It's like, you don't believe that. and if you do sit down, you're not really listening because you don't care. Because you have bigger fish to fry than listening to people talk about whiteness or whatever the fuck.
Right. And when it comes to that, like, I think politicians in general, just the trust level goes like
But that's how I treat
don't-
Roland, because he's
Right, and
he's been in
so-
politics for like 30 years.
Right. So I get that. Like, I treat like people who speak on issues as one thing. People who are legislating laws, I look at in a different light, and that's because of the incentive structure. So like, I think that people who are supposed to legislate laws, they're in this place where they're pandering for money, they're pandering for votes. So it's like that's what everything is contingent on. So I think everything that they're doing, especially since I look at how much time they have to dedicate towards fundraising, I'm thinking, oh, they're just pandering all the time. I don't think that anything that they're doing is real. I look at what their actions are when it comes to legislation. I don't listen to what they're saying because it's so practiced, and they have a team of people behind them doing the research. They have another team of people behind them telling them how to speak. They have another team. That same team is talking to the people who are interviewing them and saying how they should appear, what tie they should wear, what things they should talk about in which order. So like, it's so manufactured that I can't interpret anything that comes out of that as authentic.
That's how I interpret Roland.
Okay, yeah, and I understand that. That's why I'm like, there's a I see that what you're saying is possible. From where I'm looking at,
He's defending the side, and that's
from what I'm looking at. When I look at, I politicians have a trust notch, like they're a trust level lower than everybody else. And so I could relate to what you're saying about Roland, but the reason why I don't paint people like Roland, people who are in politics, who pontificate on idealism, in that light, is because they have, that's their one job. Their one job is based off of what they say. On politics, they're saying this. There's an ulterior motive possibly, but I really care about what legislators legislate. I care about what the executives execute. I care about how the judicial system judges or interprets the law. I don't care about anything else when it comes to the government officials. When it comes to everybody else, like people who are just pontificating, talking about issues, I look at very carefully at what they say. So with Roland, let me not say Roland believes this or doesn't believe that. Let me just talk about him as a symbol. As a symbol, I think what he's saying is fundamentally flawed. And I don't think it's fundamentally flawed because he doesn't know any better, or like, honestly, it doesn't even matter whether he knows better or not. He's very comfortable saying what he's saying. Either he's lying, which is fucked up in and of itself, or he doesn't know and not incentivized to find out more, which is just as fucked up because it's having the same effect on the confirmation, on the people who feel confirmed by what he's saying. Mm-hmm. So that's where I stand on him and everything else. Like John Lennon, same thing. Like there's a guy, T.J. Holmes, and I think he's at, I don't know, he's working at one of the big news stations now. But he had this phenomenal show on BET once upon a time. Think back in 2012 or 2013.
Oh, fuck.
Oh.
No, I was trying to type it in, and then like I clicked the first thing, and it takes me directly to the Wikipedia.
Yeah, let me see. T.J. Holmes, look up. It's called Don't Sleep. I don't remember when it was on. I think it was around.
Oh, I remember this motherfucker.
Yeah, but like it was on BET, and it was a phenomenal show because it wasn't like.
Have you watched BET recently?
No. This was.
It's got a weird way of how they film their shows.
Oh, I don't even want to. But this guy in particular, and this, I'll tell you exactly why.
The acting is so goddamn bad.
I'll tell you exactly.
It's really bad.
I'll tell you exactly why.
I'm watching it and I'm like, where do black people go to learn how to act?
Oh, jeez. But
I was like, I need to watch a movie with Idris Elba. So.
But like when it comes to and BET, like there's so many problems with BET, and this is what I think is the fundamental problem with BET. I don't even think it's just black actors act this way or like in general. I think it's just because of what they've been incentivizing. It's just not the cream of the crop. Because for example, the Don't Sleep in T.J. Holmes is like, it wasn't like a soundbite of what Lennon said on his thing. It was a whole show. Hour-long show, 30-minute show, dedicated to the status of black people. And it was called Don't Sleep. Like, this was before the whole woke thing. It was Don't Sleep, like, hey, this is where our credit score is. Hey, this is where our wealth is. Hey, this is what the gun violence is like. They stole it from him. Don't Sleep. Yeah, like, exactly. Woke. They're like, got it. Yeah, the problem was there was one syllable too many. But it was a phenomenal show, and it highlighted all these things, and he was doing interviews with people in the inner cities, and like it was great, but it didn't get good reception, and he had to keep moving his time slot around, different days, different times, hour, 30 minutes. He just had to keep on moving it around to the point where it just had to stop, and he's like, we're just not getting the support. We're not getting the audience. We're not getting the viewership. This is our last show. This is what's going on. And so we're going to go out with a bang. And he did it. And now he's working at a major news station. And, like, the stuff that he talks about now, or the stuff that he reports on, the stuff that he writes now, doesn't even come close to resembling anything that he did on Don't Sleep. I don't think his ideology changed that much. I just think that the confirmation bias encouraged him, like the industry encouraged him to not do what's, I think, in my opinion, good for the community. I think it encouraged him to jump on the bandwagon of what the way that that culture is moving. So culture is moving one way. Accept everybody, do this, then he's moving that way. Either way, that show doesn't exist anymore. And there's no show like that exists anymore. And there's a couple...
I wouldn't imagine there would be.
Yeah. And there's a couple people on YouTube and podcasts who are touching on these things and talking about these things, but it's not mainstream television. It's not the black entertainment. And the same thing on BET, like at the same time as like Real Housewives of Atlanta, super, super high ratings, but Don't Sleep, nothing. So I thought it was just embarrassing. So yeah, I'm not even concerned about. I heard now. I think what's his face is in the running for trying to buy BET. What's his name? The guy, Tyler Perry, and some other people through.
Well, he's got this show that I was trying to tell you about. No, I find the clip so bad.
But I mean, I'm happy for Tyler Perry, but That's going to be a series of podcasts.
But they've done like 5 seasons or 6 seasons.
But like for example, my wife loves Tyler Perry, and
I can't stand that.
Yeah, like I like the things, the images and the stories that he's painting. I hate how extreme all the characters are.
Oh, I was gonna say, where were you going with that? And then you said that, I'm like, okay.
Yeah, like it's just like this is.
I think if a white person did it, it would be considered incredibly racist.
Yeah, it would, and also like I
remember like the Meet the Browns. It's like, no, hey, we found a slave head. That dark skinned dude with the shaved head. I'm like, God, this guy's straight off the fucking field.
Damn, no,
that's what his character was. It was like, hey, I'm a dumb, ignorant black man. And you're talking about the guy who I'm not talking about the dad. I'm talking about Meet the Browns.
Yeah,
because remember
this guy, right? Yeah, let me see if we're talking about
the dark ass, short motherfucker with the
bald head. Usually wears overalls and stuff like that.
you're asking a detail that I didn't pick up on.
Yeah. He usually has like outrageous outfits.
Oh, like 70s inspired kind of colors.
This guy.
Yeah.
Yeah. I think in real life he's a pastor.
And then what is it?
So
was House of Pain?
Yeah.
The
House
one
of Pain,
with the firefighters.
Yeah.
And then it's like in all the other black sitcoms, the patriarch was like, he could be dumb at times, but like, incredibly competent at his job.
Yeah.
And just kind of fumbled the ball with his wife and pissed her off, or maybe too hard on his son and drove him away. But like, then they got this guy, the fumbling black dumbass.
Yeah, he was just like a character, and he's out there.
The problem is
like,
that there's too much
with,
ethnic shit to it, so it makes it seem like black people are stupid. Whereas like when Uncle Phil did something dumb, it was like, oh man, the dad messed up. Because Uncle Phil wasn't this over the top like, hey, I cheated on your wife one time. It's like, or my wife one time. It's like, why are you talking like that? It'd be like, he'd be like, I can't believe in that moment I cheated. Yeah. And it'd be like, oh wow, a real moment, not some like hood rat ghetto trash.
Right. Yeah. So it's not that it's like there's too much ethnic. It's just that the stereotypes are like extreme. Like this real people.
The mom is a crackhead.
Yeah.
It's like, why can't you just be irresponsible?
Right, and see, and I think, and this is the thing. I like it because
also,
of the story.
I love how the crackhead speaks the most perfect English out of anybody there. I'm like, wouldn't it be the opposite?
Well,
you know what I mean, like.
Well, but I know what you're saying. But I'm saying, like, I like that
he would come back and be like dressed up. It's like, oh, college-educated black woman that went to Hampton. Like, it wasn't like, there's street crack whore that abandoned all of her family.
Yeah. No, but I mean, there's some people who are high-functioning crackheads. Not everyone's holed up in a wall.
There's no such thing as a high-functioning crackhead.
You'd be surprised.
Eventually, there's a breakdown.
You'd be surprised.
Crack can't hold up like that, just like meth can't.
I don't know too much. I don't know too much about meth. I know heroin. It can't be high-functioning heroin.
You can.
Heroin? No,
more so than crack.
I think crack. Because crack is a step away from cocaine. I mean,
it fucks you up a lot more than cocaine does.
I don't think that. I know it hits you. It hits you differently, but I don't think it's
the physical effect. How many cokeheads are on Wall Street that look brilliant? Yeah, there are no brilliant-looking crackheads. You start losing your teeth. Your eyes get sunken.
There's brilliant-looking. I mean, there's not all crackheads look like the stereotype of like hold up in the wall and like scattling around.
It destroys your face.
Shots. No. I think that's. I don't think that.
That's an accurate truth.
I know
meth does the same thing.
I don't know about meth, but I've known people who do crack and they don't look like they look like you or me.
There's a difference between an extreme. How long have they been a crackhead?
Like for decades. Like
I know people. Their usage?
That I don't know. I never like. Oh, is it like a?
Then you can't call them a crackhead. Do you know what a crackhead is?
Someone who smokes crack
regularly. Hence,
define regularly.
All the time.
Define all the time.
What does all the time mean?
That's what I'm asking.
What do you think it means? I smoke cigarettes all the time. Oh, so once every 3 days? Like, no, it's
no. But everyone's idea is different. Like
daily usage is a crackhead.
Yeah. Okay.
It's not once.
I think
once a month after you pay your rent, I'm gonna treat myself.
Some people are like that. Not once a month.
That's not a crackhead.
No, but
crackhead is someone who literally is just constantly smoking crack. Just like a meth head. A head is just another term for addict.
Okay, but I think.
Do you not know the term crack?
No, but it's like. I think
just like
because people
pothead.
Say but people say pothead, but
it means they're always smoking fucking pot.
Okay. Well, let's backtrack. It's like when people say I'm starving. No, You're not. You're not starving. It's not. But people say that in order to just say,
So and so's a
I'm
pothead.
hungry.
They always have
No,
weed.
wait. So let me go back again. So like when people say I'm starving, they're not starving, but people use that term in order just to indicate that they're hungry. So the same way people say crackhead, meth head, what do you call it? Weed head. They're using those terms not necessarily to describe someone who's addicted, clinically speaking, but to say that this person does this activity.
Yeah, but if I smoke weed once every 6 months, you would look like an idiot if you called me a pothead.
Right.
Because people would look at you and be like, it's been like 5 months since you smoked. Are you a fucking idiot?
But for some people, once a month is a lot. Some people, once a week is a lot. Some people, once a day is a lot.
Here we go again.
Everybody looks at things differently. The people's definition.
So there are people that have 2 beers on a Friday night, and what if somebody thinks that they're an alcoholic?
Some people do.
There's no validity in that statement, though.
But some people, that's what some people do.
Oh my God.
Some people say that.
Some people love fucking children in the ass. Like, am I not supposed to accurately describe that as being a
Why do
pedophile?
we always go to pedophiles? Why is this always the go-to pedophile?
I have to go because I have to go so extreme, and it bothers me.
Well, it's like not fucking someone.
Okay, how about we accurate? How about we start accurately using fucking words instead of?
I'm for it.
Instead of catering to some fucking piece of shit who doesn't know anything.
I'm for it. I'm for the.
Yeah, there's some people who think if you steal a candy bar, you should hold their head down, put a gun, and blow their fucking brains out on the counter. And you're like, well, some people say that. Like,
no, but some
what the
people
fuck are you
do.
talking about?
Well, I'm talking about some people do say that, and
Some people want to fuck your kids. Do you let them? Like, I mean,
Do you want to find out the people?
it's such a stupid. It's such a nonsensical thing to say.
No, but it's not nonsensical. Like
It is.
No. If this is what
you just said functioning
Okay.
crack addicts.
Okay, so let's
can hold it together, and I'm telling you that
let's go back to
that the effects
have you ever said yourself or heard someone say the term that I'm starving? Have you ever heard that term being used?
Well, you know what term I've never heard?
Wait, is it yes or no?
Someone
Wait,
functionally
yes.
in starvation.
Yes or no?
But that's
have you ever heard,
that's not the
have
same.
you ever heard,
That's not the same example.
No, yes it is.
No, it isn't.
Yes it is. If
Someone who's a functioning
if you're-
addict is an
wait,
accurate description.
Wait. If you're in starvation, that means you're starving. What the fuck are you talking? Wait. You said let's go to using words the way that they're supposed to be.
Yeah,
used.
and then you pick
The
something
term-
that has no equation.
It does.
At all.
It does because it's trying. I'm proving a point that
What
it
fucking
depends.
point?
I'm trying to get to it. So go with starving.
if I'm hungry right now and I'm starving, that doesn't mean that
You're
I
not
look.
starving. You're not starving. If you're hungry, that doesn't mean you're starving. So, but people use
Say,
that
oh, I'm
term.
starving.
Yeah, people say that, but they're not starving.
What the fuck are you talking about?
Okay.
That's a societal phrase that we've agreed
That's
upon.
my point.
You're a what?
The hat! Not the hat! You actually threw it this time. Yo, are you angry?
Yeah, no, I'm actually kind of heated for a second.
No, but that's
I'm
my
on the
point.
break. I just threw the coffee all over the wall.
Oh, sorry.
Well, it splashed up and it sprayed all over the wall.
At least it smells nice. but
At
that's my
no
point.
point. No. You're gonna shut the fuck up. You're gonna shut the fuck up.
I will, but after I'm gonna talk. And
No, because
you're gonna have to.
we have agreed that societally, in our culture,
Okay.
I'm starving is an appropriate phrase to describe hunger.
Right.
At no point in society has I am a functioning alcoholic describe somebody who has half a glass of wine once every 3 weeks.
No, but if you have,
If you say-
drink a bottle, but
If you go up to somebody,
it's arguable.
if you go up to somebody and say, I'm a functional alcoholic, that might mean 3 drinks a night, it might mean 4 drinks a night, or it might be a more real case of alcoholism where it is like a bottle of Jack Daniels a night.
According to your perception.
But no. That's what. What is? But it's
no. But that's according to your perception.
No, it's not.
There's
So
some
people who think that when you say if I went up to somebody and say I'm a functioning alcoholic, you think that there are people that think, "Oh, that's crazy. He has a glass of wine every 3 weeks."
No.
There's nobody that thinks that.
But I'm sure that there's some people who
No,
think that.
that's not normal people, not people that are mentally healthy.
No. Okay, so let me.
I mean, if we want to,
let me give a personal example. I know somebody who used to, like, he didn't spend money on too much of anything else. He rented this little basement, and he'd watch sports, and he was a chef. Every paycheck, he would get a bottle of Ciroc, and he would drink it in one night and go to sleep. That was his vice.
Once a week.
No. Once every 2 weeks.
Like a paycheck.
Yeah. Every paycheck, he would just get a bottle of Ciroc. That was his thing. That was his vice.
That's binge drinking.
Right. But some people call him an alcoholic. So you're talking about what society has agreed to.
But
some members of society would call that an alcoholic.
That's binge drinker.
But some people would call that alcoholic. And that's alcoholism.
But that's not even the definition of what an alcoholic is.
Which is the same thing as hungry and starving is. The differentiation between the two.
Who would consider drinking?
There's people that...
There are people that think drinking 2 nights a month is alcoholism.
I'm sure that they are.
You're conflating with being concerned with drinking that much alcohol in one go.
No, I'm not conflating it. I'm telling you no. I'm not conflating anything. I'm literally spoon feeding you words that I've heard from his roommates. These are things that people say about this guy based on his behavior.
How did they state it? Is this conversationally?
Yes.
But so-and-so Steve's an alcoholic, man. He killed a bottle of Ciroc last night.
Yeah.
So casual conversation and not like direct statements?
No, they'll say it. Wait, casual conversation. You make direct statements in casual conversations all the time.
Man, I am fucking swimming in pussy. That doesn't mean I have a swimming pool of cutout vaginas.
No. But that's not.
That also doesn't mean that. That also doesn't mean.
Now you're conflating two different things. Now making statements isn't the same thing as taking everything that you're saying literally. Now I could say I'm fucking tired.
I fucking hate how you view everything.
That's a statement. You just made it, and we're having a conversation. My point's made. Boom!
If I ever consume alcohol around you, we're gonna fight. I'll rephrase it. If we drink and have
this conversation,
and we're doing a podcast, we're going to fight. If we drink and we're just hanging out, we're going to talk about anime or something.
Yeah, I'm down.
I'm going to be like, we're going to get box sets of Dragon Ball Z, and you're going to be like, oh, I know a great spot. And I'll be like, oh, that's amazing.
But I mean, I'm just saying, like, this is...
What the fuck why do you do this to me?
No, because...
You hurt my head.
But I just wanted to, because the phrasing, like, some people associate...
Yes! I go out and I get blackout drunk and just shot after shot. Someone is going to say, Jesus Christ, James is an alcoholic. But no one
that's
is...
socially acceptable.
But you're not sitting down...
But what if that's...
They're not sitting down going... James is an alcoholic. Like, you need more evidence. People say this all the time.
Yeah, but that's what people make judgments based off of whatever little thing that they're exposed to.
But these are fucking...
Your poor table.
But you're taking... You're running out of hats! That's the same hat.
Okay.
You're taking... weightless statements and applying meaning to them. That's why it's pissing me off.
Well, this goes back to what I was saying before.
Someone's sitting on a couch saying so-and-so's an alcoholic because they took a bottle to the head once a month.
Yeah.
It's literally just like in one ear, out the other, laugh, yeah, it's crazy. And then there's no fucking meaning to it.
Wait. Well, in your perspective. For me, like
You put meaning to that.
I put meaning behind everything.
Then you're a fucking psycho.
But then wait. But then isn't it just as
People-
psychotic? Wait. But isn't it just wait?
No, it's not. Whatever you're going to say, it's going to be wrong.
It looks like you have a wall up. But isn't it just as psychotic? Because per that same logic, isn't it just as psychotic to feel the same way when I say functioning crackhead? If some phrases or statements are weightless,
because there's no proof behind that.
there's no proof that behind.
You didn't say crackhead.
What did I say?
Functioning crackhead.
High functioning crackhead.
Which puts a whole different meaning to it.
But that's
You can call
under
people
your
crackheads who don't even smoke crack.
Yeah.
And people know what you're talking about. So-and-so's a fucking crackhead. Oh, yeah, they're fucking manic, or they're all over the place, or they're wild,
Yeah.
If you say, so-and-so's a functioning crackhead, or I know functioning crackheads, it's like, no, you don't. There's nobody that's functionally, regularly using crack.
Let me ask you this. Have you met anyone who smokes crack?
Yes.
And they're all not non-functioning?
I don't know anybody that smokes crack regularly. That's the point. You can't. There's no functioning meth addicts.
Your definition of
it's not my definition. It's reality.
No. It's
you
not
can't
reality.
change.
Your perception is your reality. So the same way starving. When someone says I'm starving,
This is where you're fucking wrong. Like, I'm sorry, you were 100% wrong.
Wait, so then if someone says I'm starving by the same functioning crackhead, tell me what the difference between
Because now you're applying an actual definition and term to it.
But starving,
no one loosely
starving is a definition.
Shut the fuck up. Stop using food to narcotics and alcohol.
Why not?
They're not the fucking same.
Yes, it is. You consume it.
I fucking hate you. I'm getting so angry. Just shut the fuck up.
That doesn't make any sense. If you consume it, that's relatable.
No, it's not.
Yes, it is.
Robert, go fuck yourself. Just seriously, take a fist and fucking shove it up your ass.
That sounds painful. I don't want
I fucking hate you. I can't. I need to meet your wife again, and I'm gonna give her a hug.
See, we're at odds again, so you'd love it.
I'm gonna give her a hug, and I'm gonna whisper into her ear, "I'm so sorry."
What? Have you said
You are putting.
Okay.
You'd say you care about words, but yet at this point you were literally talking about no words. No words have any meaning whatsoever.
No. I am talking
I want to
about
fucking
words.
punch you in the face, and I don't know why.
I don't like that.
I'm not going to because I can't fight.
Okay, well, thank you. Don't learn now.
Let's see if I can do it.
Ow, my eyeball.
Why do you fucking do this to me?
No. Okay, so.
No. I'm gonna talk because you want to talk about food.
Okay, let's talk about food. Whatever you want.
I want to choke you. I don't want to hit you. I actually want to choke you. I want to prevent you from talking. Casually making an alcoholic statement is culturally acceptable. So I don't know why the fuck you can't figure that out.
No, it's not that I can't figure that out.
Saying like X person is a functional alcoholic is actually describing somebody that, by all accounts, is a fucking alcoholic.
Right.
They do consume alcohol at a degree that, clinically speaking, is an alcoholic. They then can hold a job, maintain relationships, get to work on time, hold it together as best as they can, and are therefore functioning. No one describes like somebody who smokes pot once as like, they're a functioning pothead. It's like, everybody in the world would look at that person and be like, we need to murder you right now because you're retarded. They smoked weed 8 months ago. How in the world are you using the term functioning pothead? It's a term that is only specifically used for people who use it daily because you are a fucking addict.
Yeah. So culture changes, right? And
what culture are you perceiving? Like, you're not even talking about gluttony when it comes to food. Like eating 80 cheeseburgers a day.
No, I'm talking about the opposite.
You're like, I'm starving. Yeah, these are social phrases that have been accepted by everybody.
But the reason
You're
why
now using phrases that aren't accepted by anybody.
Wait. But the reason why they're accepted is because at some point someone injected this into the culture and this became the norm. So the same way, and that happens. It doesn't happen simultaneously across everywhere.
Nobody
all at once.
uses the term functioning addict for people who aren't addicts.
Yes. They do because
no, they don't.
Again, okay, so going back to your alcohol example, short of being a clinician, assessing that person and being exposed to the data in which you could ascertain whether that person is clinically an alcoholic or not. Wait. Short of doing those things, you can't say whether someone's consumption of alcohol is clinically
15 drinks a week.
You can't say you can't measure it.
That's it. 15 drinks a week.
So 14 drinks is not an alcoholic.
No. The clinical diagnosis is 15 drinks a week.
So 14 drinks, you're fine. You're not an alcoholic if you drink 14 times a week. If you have 14 drinks a week. That's the clinical definition of alcoholism?
Clinical definition is 15 drinks a week.
I don't think so.
Do you want to look it up?
Yeah. Because it depends. When it comes to psychological diagnosis, it depends from person to person. For example, off the top of my head, people who
well, do you consume those 14 drinks in one night?
People who are but does that matter? Because
binge drinking is different because it can create other issues depending on health.
Could
induce a heart attack.
Yeah, but that's one thing though. But if they drink the 14 drinks in one night, does that mean they're still not an alcoholic?
That's binge drinking.
But
that's different.
Okay, but if they're not an alcoholic still, doesn't matter what.
Just fucking look it up, Robert.
Hold up, because and I will. But think about this.
Oh, think about this. So now I'm going to think about something. I'm just kidding. I'm being an asshole.
Okay. Well, people who are recovering addicts, they're like, they don't drink, and so for them, they might be 6 years clean. They'll still refer to themselves as an alcoholic.
Okay.
So they're an alcoholic
because the addiction exists in them, and they already know what they're capable of doing.
But they're not drinking 14. They're not drinking 15.
But that is completely different than normal social interactions.
No. But you're saying the clinical definition of an alcoholic is someone who drinks 15 days 15 times, has 15 drinks a week.
Robert,
but
you're being a dick.
Wait. No.
You're being an asshole.
I'm saying,
you're playing semantics.
But
there are people.
Wait. But what are semantics?
You are.
Isn't that like
Shut
trying
the
to take it
fuck
literally?
Up,
you're trying to take it literally, right? So if you're trying to,
if you take that literally, you're a fucking jackass.
But
because it's common practice
wait. But you can't. But that's what I'm saying.
You're a fucking piece of shit right now. You're actually pissing me the fuck off.
I'm not, dude. Like it's just.
It's common practice in AA to around each other. Consider yourself, regardless of what your current consumption of alcohol is, to be an alcoholic. You're a piece of shit if you're a piece of shit if you're getting into semantics of what that word means.
So that means that you can be an alcoholic and not drink 15 drinks a week.
Okay, Robert, you're right. You won. You won the argument. You got it.
Isn't that what it means?
You got it. You won. You figured it out. You won. I'm cool with it. You got it.
Okay.
You won. You want to play this game with me?
It's not a game, man. I take it literally. Like when you say I won, I'm like, all right. Like
you win.
Okay.
You win it.
Like I said, I'll look it up. Like you asked me to.
I didn't ask you to look it up.
No, you said look it up. I was like, okay, I will. But first, let me give you something to think about. But I'll look it up. Like I said, I would. What is considered? Or like how many drinks? How many drinks are considered alcoholics? Heavy drinking for women. Heavy drinking is 8 drinks or more per week. For men, heavy drinking is 15 drinks or more per week. But that's not alcoholic. That's just what the definition of what they define as heavy drinking. That's not the same thing as being an alcoholic. So.
Okay. You win again.
What's the... I mean, if you find evidence that says anything differently, then let me know.
You sound like a fucking idiot.
I don't think I do because this is okay. So I said I'd look it up.
You literally are all over the place, and you're literally not containing yourself to one argument.
No, I'm not, man.
Yes, you are.
We just.
You literally got into the semantics of how actual alcoholics who are trying to maintain their recovery identify themselves as, and use that as a way to prove that you're somehow right in what we're talking about.
I use that as an example, but I'm also saying that it depends on person.
Which is an unfair thing because it's a completely different standpoint.
But it's
because AA and NA are very different on how the real world works.
Right, but so fine. So are you saying that someone who drinks 14 drinks a week can't ever be considered an alcoholic? Because since they're not, but when I looked it up, it
socially.
Says, no. When I looked it up, it says that is considered heavy drinking, but that's not what alcoholism is defined by. So when you define alcoholism, what is the definition of alcoholism?
I don't fucking know, Robert.
Is alcoholism?
I mean, you're the one who wants to fucking go down this route.
No. I mean, I was trying to make a point. We got stuck here because you were pushing back against what I said.
We got stuck here because you said you could be a functional crackhead.
Right. So again,
I don't know why.
How's that different from what I just said? Explain how that's different from what I just said. I just said I didn't want to go down this rabbit hole. I made a point. I was going another direction. You got stuck here. You gave me pushback. So now we're stuck here. So I'm over here. We digging out, baby. So let's go. We're going for it. It's not on me.
But there's no proof that you can do that.
There's no proof that you could drink 14 drinks a week and not be an alcoholic.
What?
So
I was talking about crack.
Okay, so going back to the crack example.
Anybody could be a functional alcoholic. It's fucking easy. All you need is a good fucking liver.
Same thing with crack, man.
No.
Yeah. What is chemically what composition
of
is
how it deteriorates you, the chemicals that are in it. Alcohol. In crack and meth. Alcohol makes you bloat
and destroys your brain cells.
Okay, who gives a fuck?
The people who walk around like this, like
okay, that's non-functioning alcoholics.
Right. The same way there's non-functioning crackheads, but there's functional. There's functional alcoholics. There's non-functional alcoholics. There's functioning crackheads. There's non-functional crackheads. You can't just say. Yes, there is.
Where? You don't even know any.
Yeah, I do.
What is their regular use? I
don't know how much they use. I'm not sitting next to them. Oh, what you doing over there? No, but I know they regularly use crack. Well, what I define as regularly.
What is that usage? You can't even. That's the point of what I'm trying to make. Is you can't identify.
If I go over. Hey, where's so-and-so? He's not here.
Like, I know people who do drugs. Yeah. Variety of drugs.
Yeah.
They're an addict. They're an alcoholic. And they're in and out of prison. I don't know people that functionally hold and maintain jobs that are ingesting any drug that they come into contact with. On a regular basis.
But there's people.
You can't identify what the usage is, so how can you tell me that you know it? That's my point.
Because, one, we have to identify at what point is the
usage. Of what being a drug addict is?
Yeah.
It's exactly. A regular daily use.
Define regular use.
Daily use.
How much a day?
Does it matter?
Yes.
It doesn't.
Yes, it does.
Daily use.
Okay, so if it's daily,
you're not an alcoholic if you have one Bud Light a night.
Well,
but it's alcohol.
But
if I'm shooting up heroin once a day, long term it's going to be an issue.
So every other day it's fine. That's what I'm saying.
Jesus Christ, Robert.
That's what I'm saying. I'm saying you have to. You got. You okay? So
I don't know. I'm not a fucking doctor, you cocksucker.
That's my point. That's my point.
God.
Don't do it!
You fucking piece of shit!
But that's my point.
You fucking asshole!
How is that being an asshole?
Because you're fucking going to the goddamn particulars of the fucking matter.
But that's
what we're
supposed to do.
Because I'm an angry person and I have issues that I need to fucking get rid of, and I can't keep having these conversations with you like this.
Oh, I'm sorry. But then,
because I need to, when I get this angry, I have to break something. I have to literally break something, and I don't know how to get over this. And it's very frustrating for me.
I think it's practice.
I'm having a breakdown.
I think take a deep breath.
What the fuck are you talking about, dude?
Okay, wait.
Why can't you just be a fucking normal person?
I'm unique. I'm special. I was born this way.
I fucking hate you.
Love you too, man. Well, you get like
Robert, I want to choke you out.
Don't do that.
Why are you turning it around on me to provide you for an answer when you can't even identify what you are even talking about?
Wait, but I'm not.
Because you're saying, no, you were telling me that you know functioning crackheads, but yet you have no actual knowledge of what that usage is. And then you're then coming to me and then trying to get me to come up with an answer of something that you don't even have an answer for of how to even gauge what I'm even talking about. That is fucking pissing me the fuck off, dude.
So we'll just comb through it then. So I know a person. I'll go over there. And then if they're not home, it's safe to assume, which is usually the case, he's out doing crack. So for me, and that happens way more often than I think is used to it. I call him a crackhead. His girlfriend calls him a crackhead. His kids know that he does crack, and they call him crackhead. So by the definition,
not his kids.
Yeah,
Not his kids.
It's wild. So by
So what does he do?
By everybody's assessment, he's a crackhead, but he's a handyman, and so he works. Sometimes he'll pick up a job. He'll have to go out to Jersey. He'll be gone for a few weeks. Sometimes he'll be right across the street doing something for a school. Sometimes he'll do something at a university nearby. But he just pretty much any HVAC systems, anything having to do with duct work. Like it's just I'm not enough of a man to know all the details, but
he finds
he's a
jobs
handyman.
that pay bills.
Well, he's a handyman and he works regularly with certain clients, and so he's really good at it. And he's I've seen him remodel a kitchen. I've seen him. He put tiles on the entire on all the floors. He's done up the bathroom, like swapped out the toilet, swapped out the sink thing. Like looks way different. Like he's high functioning. He's able to operate. Not only is he able to have a job and pay it and pay for things that he needs, he's able to pay for other things that he wants, including crack. He does it on a regular basis. By my measure, by his girlfriend's measure, and by his kids' measurement, it's regular. I don't have a number amount. I don't know if it's daily, but he does it a lot.
But that
So between me,
I get it.
the kids, and his girlfriend, we say he's crackhead. He's a crackhead. That's what we agree to socially, our social contract of identifying who this guy is. Yeah, unwritten rule. Like this guy's a crackhead. Like he's just a fucking crackhead. Like, oh, what's he out doing? Like he's a crack. They come out zonked out. It's like, oh, this guy's a crackhead. So he's a crackhead. He doesn't show up to work after smoking crack, but he uses crack on a basis that's more regular than anybody would think is. I mean, I don't think, this is a normal crackhead use. This is normal crack consumption. I don't think like the measurement of what's normal and what's extreme is I think is a funky line. And when it comes to psychology, so when it comes to psychology, for example, if someone's working at a union job or with a bunch of other people, they might be the person will sit down with the psychologist and like, I have this issue, and the psychologist will assess them as being narcissistic. That same person will be on Wall Street, and the psychologist will sit down with him and say, this person's fine, because their diagnosis, the clinical diagnosis of someone's psychological ability,
they would probably
is
say
dependent.
somebody on Wall Street is a narcissist.
No, but some people don't. They'll be like,
But that narcissism is better for the job.
Well, they'll say that he has narcissistic tendencies, but they won't clinically diagnose them as a narcissist. So it's dependent that their psychological diagnosis is dependent on your environment. So a psychological diagnosis
Or
is I don't no because they're not cutting open your skull to see your brain activity. They'll doing an EEG scan for everybody comes in. They're saying like, hey, if you have a problem or you come into this thing to get clean, they're trying to get you clean. They're not trying to get you down to 1 or 2 hits. They're trying to get you clean. So if you're an addict, they don't want you to touch it at all. Or if you identify as an addict, or if you think that there's a problem that's disturbing you socially, which could be 2 drinks a week. It could be 2 times a month. Whatever it is. If
It's not 2 drinks a week.
But some people it is. For some people
It's not.
For some people it is.
It's not.
It's not.
There is nobody
Again.
in AA who has 2 beers a week.
I would hope no one on AA has any beers a week. But
Their past usage, it's not 2 beers a week.
I don't know. I honestly don't.
As
But
someone who's gone to AA, it's not.
yeah, I don't foresee 2 drinks being enough to disrupt your environment.
I'm probably getting too emotional with this because I've gone to these meetings.
Okay.
And I'm attached to it.
Yeah. Okay.
And
So-
that's why I'm getting overly frustrated.
Okay.
It's not
And
2 drinks.
that's understandable.
It's not 2 drinks a week. So I
Yeah.
apologize for losing my shit.
They're fine, man. It happens. But I'm just saying, it's not always.
It's
15 drinks a week.
It's
That's
never
all I'm saying.
the number for what is considered heavy drinking for men is 15 drinks a week.
Yeah, but
Because men can process that relatively normal without any adverse health effects. 15 drinks or more on a weekly basis will eventually cause health problems.
well, any drinks ever in your lifetime is gonna cause some kind of adverse health effect, because it literally it's poison, and your body processes it as poison, no matter if it's the hard liquor, the
Red wine has antioxidants in it that
so do berries. I mean, the amount of red wine you would have to drink to benefit from the antioxidants is ridiculous compared to the amount of alcohol, the damage that alcohol will do to your body.
There's been studies done where like every couple of days a glass of red wine is healthy for you.
Yeah, because your body can process the poison in that amount of time, but not necessarily that the alcohol in and of itself is good, but just to say that the antioxidants in it could be beneficial, but you could still get the same kind of...
An appropriate amount of alcohol
can
be stress relievers and relaxers and can help your mental health with being able to calm down.
So could exercising and talking a bunch about how you feel and processing your emotions. So I'm saying there's healthier ways to deal with it that doesn't involve
I am just
chugging alcohol down your throat. That's all I'm saying. I'm saying that
no one said chugging.
Or sipping, taking a sip.
Having a glass of red wine every couple of days is not chugging.
Okay, yeah. So my bad.
And also not poisoning yourself with just the one glass.
You are. It's alcohol. Alcohol is poison for your body. Alcohol, 100.
Okay,
this one is about the alcoholic effect on your body. Doesn't matter how small. Doesn't matter how large. Alcohol is poison.
Okay.
That's something you could look up. That's facts. That's not a matter of perspective.
Okay, Robert. It's poison.
You sound like you don't believe me.
I don't care.
We were really supposed to be talking about trans people today. Whoops. We did it again.
Whoops.
But yeah, I mean, I just wanted to make the point about going all the way back. Tyler Perry. So his characters are so extreme, and like I'm happy that he's telling these stories where it's like, okay, talk about the person who does crack, who might be high functioning or not.
Well,
but telling those stories like, oh, this is normal in our community. This is something that's normal in the community. Yeah, but it's normal in other communities as well. Okay, in our community we don't talk about it. Okay, talk about it, but they don't talk about it with all the nuances necessary in order to depict real life, or not to depict real life, but to like, there's no spectrum. It's like very extreme. At least with his plays and movies. I think with the shows, it's a little better.
It's like she comes back around and she's got like the blackout eyes and the dirty clothes.
Yeah, but like you have more time to flesh it out in a show, but still with the show, it's still like too much of an extremist example. And I do miss, like, I'm watching Moesha with the kids. So I'm just like, I just want the kids to be exposed.
Which one's that?
The one with what's her real name? Brandy.
Okay.
Yeah,
That's
yeah.
back in the day.
Yeah. So like we're watching that. We're watching Sister at one point. Smart Guy. Fresh Prince. We haven't delved into that yet. That would be fun. But it's like I want to show them like, hey, there's real people that exist who don't have to be exposed to drugs and alcohol to live a nuanced life.
Well, there was enough culture in there where you knew that it obviously was a black family.
Yeah.
But it didn't go to these routes where it was like, I don't even know what this is.
Yeah. It was like I'm happy that the story's getting out there because back then they didn't have any stories like this. So great job for Tyler Perry. But it's just so.
I grew up on. I always forget his name. Winslow.
Oh yeah.
I grew up on Carl Winslow,
Mr. Winslow,
and Uncle Phil. So my
yeah.
dad figures growing up were like black men.
Yeah. Dope.
A cop and a judge.
Yeah.
And I didn't know Winslow was gay.
Oh, me neither. Like what in real life?
I think he's. I hope he wasn't gay in the show.
Oh, like yikes.
He was one of the village people. I think he's gay.
Well, no, that's because I remember one episode, and I think it was Mr. Winslow, where because his son was a little bit of a knucklehead, and it was hard for him to believe him, and his son had gotten pulled over, had a bad encounter with the cops, and the dad was ripping into him. He's like, "Yeah, you don't believe me." He's just like, "All right," and then he goes to talk to the cops and does some investigations and looks into it and realizes that no, these guys did do something wrong, and so because he looked over the paperwork and then he meets them at a coffee shop and confronts them, and one of them's like a rookie and he's like kind of like he's on the fence but he's going with whatever his partner is doing, and his partner's like hardcore racist and like pretending like he's not at all, and he has this confrontation and it was really cool to see. This example, and I think it's like, oh man, I'm sure stuff like this happened, but again, this was this is an extreme depiction of the character type. But the rookie cop, what was probably way more common, where it's like, oh, you're new, fresh out the academy, trying to learn the ropes. This guy knows what he's doing. He saved me a couple times.
But you're also not trying to ruffle the
you're not trying to ruffle the feathers. You're trying to make a good impression, and you're trying to learn what's what. So sometimes I think, and that's the majority of people. I think most people are just complacent and going along with whatever the environment is dictating, and then they eventually take on that the essence or the culture of that with a little spice of their own. But they're looking for their own number 23, and if they get confirmation through their environment like that, then they'll start to look at the world that way. And I think that's what happens with most people, or at the very least, if it doesn't, and people just are super deceitful on TV or on screen than they are in real life or in person, then that's fucked up. But everybody who's watching that is doing that confirmation thing. So it serves the same, it's the same impact for society in general, even if it's not for that individual person.
Mm-hmm.
So I mean, all that being said, I blame Schaub. Schaub.
You got it right. Yes. Yeah. Not Schwab.
Yeah. I blame Schaub for all this. But all that being said, trans people. the trans bill. So
well, we did start to talk about the bill.
Yeah. So like the trans bill, it bans Medicaid coverage for these things. So just
government provided surgeries and hormone replacements.
Yeah, and I think also, what was it? It's hormone blockers, hormone replacement, and the surgery. So that's all banned by Medicaid through these bills. Florida, but I delved down a rabbit hole. Florida's not the only one. There's a bunch of other states that are joining in too, or have similar.
Or that
bills.
have already done it, probably.
Yeah, and then, but I think there's just a big focus on Florida because DeSantis is down there, and everybody's got a stiffy for him. So for one reason or another, but and then whatchamacallit? And then the other part was like you said, the banning or making it illegal to have any of those things, period, regardless of your health coverage for minors. And so, and I think that, again, there's a spectrum of people who are like, you can look at it optimistically, pessimistically, or everything in between, or someone's being truthful or deceitful or whatever. But there's going to be people who take advantage of a situation in order to get what they want. Some people want to have conversations with kids about sex because they want to educate them. Some people want to do it because they want to groom them. That's something that kept coming up. And so now I understand what your big aversion was when I used that term. One time we got into one of these back and forth
because of the definition of what.
Yeah. So I was looking at it literally, but I'm saying like grooming. They're talking about specifically in terms of sexual grooming of a minor in order to indoctrinate them into this kind of.
It could apply to almost anything at all. Like, it's just.
But that's the thing that's being used a lot for, like, oh, you're a groomer. It's like, yeah, I'm an educator. I try to teach the kids this and try to groom them for success. What's the problem? Like, no, they're talking about the other thing. So yeah. But that's it for the bill. Pretty much. And yeah, I could understand why people. Oh, the pushback is the suicide rate. Because people feel this way, kids feel this way. Because parents have that culture of, oh, I'm just going to accept everything that you do. And so when they get any kind of pushback or any kind of negativity, they see that as an attack on who they are.
Well, also, it's just like, let's stop acting like if you're born one way and then perceived to be another, your entire existence is not normal to yourself. That those people obviously are going to have higher suicide rates than like black people.
Yeah.
Who like, can't change that I'm black, but I'm black.
Yeah, it's easier to digest. And I think that's part of why
I might have a difficult time, but like I can still have friends and family and like it just existed with myself.
Yeah.
Whereas like these people, like every moment it's just. Or potentially is going to be a moment
where it's more
like
mentally volatile.
Yeah.
And I think that stems from, and some people believe that it's part of a larger mental health issue, where it's like, well, they just have obvious. They have mental health.
There's an increase with autistic people or people on the spectrum transitioning.
Oh wow! But
then they potentially don't even understand what it is that's happening.
Yeah, but I mean. But the people who are competent enough to have conversations and, well, I don't know, high-functioning autists. But if like, there's some people who believe that, okay, well, believing that you're trans, believing that you were born in the wrong body, in and of itself, is a mental health thing. There's some people a group of people who believe that. And...
Are you talking about the gender
Some people don't believe in it. Some people don't believe that trans is a thing. Some people think you're born a man.
Oh, you mean the opposite spectrum?
Yeah. Okay. You're born a woman, you're a woman, and if you think anything other than that, then you're crazy and you need to go get checked. There's some people who believe in that and think that for whatever reason, people are getting it's encouraged to indoctrinate people into accepting that they're born in other bodies. And not only do they think it's a serious mental health issue, but they're like, this is against some of the core tenets that I believe in religiously. And so they're just like,
that's not even in religion, but then they bring religion.
Yeah. But I think they try to akin it to Sodom and Gomorrah. Yeah. But
those are two different things.
Yeah. But I think it's
well, it's actually denying the studies that show that is a thing.
Yeah, and I think that's a big cohort of people, and that's looking at that side optimistically. I don't think that anybody, or I've seen very, very few people who are trans or support the trans movement who look at that group of people in that light. I don't think that they look at them, oh, you're transphobic, you're just denying my existence. And it's like, no, just imagine, just conceptualize a world where not everyone who disagrees with you is an asshole, and this is the reason why they disagree with you. And I think it's either hard for them to do it, whether some people individually believe that or not. What's being said on social media and on TV, it doesn't echo that sentiment. So I think that's they just believe everyone on that side is just trying to destroy their identity, destroy who they are, trying to keep it under wraps, and they're trying to they perceive everybody from that side pessimistically, in a negative light. And because of that, that's why they push back against it so hard. Even people who are, oh no, I just don't understand, or I just don't get it, or this is what I believe. It's like, oh, you were transphobic, you piece of shit. So I think there's a lot of anger that comes from that. And because of all these laws, even Tennessee was one of the states that has a similar law. That might be, I don't know, but that might be one
there
of the
was
things.
like a big protest.
Yeah,
that was a little.
Yeah.
I mean, they said it turned violent, but it was.
Yeah,
it was a mild skirmish, or
yeah.
I bet.
I don't
They turned a barrier over.
Yeah. But there's
a metal rail. They like knocked a metal railing over. It wasn't really that big of it.
Yeah. What was it? It was like a call to action. I had it up on the thing, but it was a call to action to fight against all the states. And so I think that's one side. But I think a lot of people, again, looking at the trans, I don't think most people on that side, or who are on the trans side, or for the trans, not the ban, but for the who are looking to help people who are trans, and especially even kids. I don't think the majority of them are pedophiles. I don't think the majority of them are. I like to look at people in a positive light, and not to deny the existence of the negative. I think the same thing on the right, where there's definitely people who are just like, fucking trans, I'm burn in hell, I'll burn you now. But the same thing on the left, where it's like there's some people who just want to fuck kids, but I think the majority of people are just like, no, this is how I feel, and I want to feel better than I do now, so I want to do this, and I don't want to have to wait in order to feel better. I want to feel better as soon as I possibly can, so I could get on with the rest of my life. I get it, but because of this confusion and because of the way that other people feel, I think they need to take that into consideration and just measure that hey, some people don't agree with you like that. We could have conversations, and I think the best of both sides could have really good conversations about it, but because it's so spun up in so many other ways. It's a
volatile issue.
So many things people get angry about. It gets so volatile and explosive, and then everything, even especially what happened in Nashville, just blows up bigger than it, to a point where you can't have this kind of conversation, that kind of conversation that I described, and it's more so of a. I was gonna take another shot at Malcolm Gladwell. Gladwell rolling conversation.
It's a culture war.
Yeah,
and that's what we're at.
But the thing is, it doesn't need to be a culture war. It could just be hey, you look at things.
Well, we're beyond that point.
Yeah, I mean, I don't know if we're beyond that point, but I think, as us as a society, I think, I think us as a society, it's like we're just.
I don't mean a literal war. I mean,
I think we need to get away from looking at it as a war. But it is. I agree with you. I think that it is a war because there's people lining up on both sides.
They had
taking shots at each other.
They had their side had an opportunity to corral the crazies and be like, okay, we're not doing this. But they didn't, and they let the crazies take over. Mm-hmm. And now everyone else has to deal with crazy people.
And I think that it's not because of the culture of acceptance. Now that people are like,
well, that's what I mean. They didn't have a
I'm agreeing with you. I'm just saying this is why.
Yeah, they didn't have a standard of we went from everybody being okay with gay marriage, and then within 5 years, it's I should have a dildo and dye my hair pink and teach 5-year-olds. It's why? Why do you find that? Do you have to wear it outside of your pants?
Yeah. You have to slap it on the desk all right, kids, what happened to the apple?
It was just
desk?
that teacher with the big face
who
goes outside and presents as a man.
Yeah. I was
so it's great. So you're just
poking.
Yeah, it's not poking.
But we'll dive into this Nashville thing if we can. We got time. Yeah, we got plenty of time.
Is this a shooting?
Yeah.
Oh, so it was. I forgot. I forget that Nashville's in Tennessee.
Yeah.
So this had probably something to do with the bill,
Well, yeah, that's what some people.
or people are making.
Making that assumption or drawing that line, which it could be because it was a Christian school and the perp was trans.
And went to the school.
Yeah, when they were younger, yeah. So people say all kind of wild shit about shoot.
Was it middle school or no? It was high school.
I think it was elementary school. Elementary because it's 9-year-olds. It was elementary school.
Imagine holding on to that one.
Fuck.
20 years later.
God damn. Yeah.
That was-
Shit. But
my middle school years were the best, but I don't want to go back and kill kids
shit.
that have nothing to do with what I was.
You didn't exist by the time I was here and got upset.
It would make more sense for me to find the people who I didn't like and then kill them.
Yeah. What?
I've got social media I can find.
But I think most people don't think logically, and a lot of people just.
Well, I mean, if you're gonna go get 3 guns and go shoot up a school,
Yeah, I mean, the mental gymnastics you have to do in your head to justify shooting kids at an elementary school when they're like, I don't get it. Like that's some.
I mean,
wild
I get
shit.
it.
That's wild shit.
because they're crazy.
Fuck it, yeah.
That's how I get it.
Yeah, that person broke. Yeah, that was wow. But yeah, it's fucked up. But then as it always does, it spins into this whole gun debate. So we're gonna dive into that shit. But so I mean, I was looking at.
I do like how some people are pushing back with they're gonna make this about trans people and everything like that, and I think it's funny because you make it about white people every time a white guy does it.
Yeah, so I mean,
don't make it about white men and their need to subjugate people, and then a trans person does it, and we're not gonna then
address it. So everyone's pushing the narrative that they want to push, and I think and that's part of the nonsensical argument that happens going back and forth instead of hey, have the best of both sides, sit down and have a nice conversation.
Very few trans people are committing mass shootings.
Yeah, exactly. So I mean,
very few.
Yeah,
but obviously, if they do it, it's low hanging fruit. It's right there. You're gonna
go for it, especially if
look who did it. Well, look who.
Yeah, I got some.
You guys are so great, huh?
Yeah. And I'll pull it up later if we have time. But I'll start combing through. In general, I was looking at people were talking about gun deaths, and it's all right. And I'm looking at the stats. I was like, oh wow, gun deaths are at an all-time high. The numbers are bigger than they ever have been before.
Ever have been, or
yeah, they're bigger than they ever have been. But we'll go back to that.
Because they're down some places.
Well, no,
because the height hit with George Floyd because of how everything was shut down with COVID, between COVID and Floyd. There was a spike in violence,
and I wish I had everything up, but I had the stats, or just look it up. The stats
21 to 22, 50 less people were killed in DC.
Okay, I don't know, but maybe that's just specifically talking about homicide. Well, I was looking at the big number. It was something. It said 45,000, and I think this was a measurement.
It's gun deaths.
Yeah, of gun deaths.
Okay, see, you have to.
Parse out what the numbers mean.
Always 70% bare minimum are suicides.
Well, it was 56%. 56% was
suicide.
Was suicide.
Oh, that's
okay.
That's low. Usually it's around 70.
Higher. And then it was 40% was homicides. But
what year was this?
That I don't know, and I wish I had the graph.
Because that would make sense if it was 21.
Yeah, it might have been. I don't know.
Because New York was up over 100%.
Okay.
And then DC was up 50%. So
yeah. Okay. Yeah, because I remember seeing those things the cities.
Yeah. 21 there was a huge spike in deaths.
Yeah. So yeah, based on the rhetoric that I've heard people say, harder than it's ever been because of the Nashville shooting. not because of any statistics. But when I looked at the statistics for whatever year I was looking at it, which was the latest data that they had, it shows that the numbers were higher than it's ever been. But yeah, it was like a high number was suicide, a high number was murder, and there was like 3 other things like police deaths, accidental firings, and stuff like that, and that accounted for like 3% of all the deaths. So I think that there's a real danger of like the self-affirming data of like, if you think like, oh yeah, well this is guns are dangerous. It's like, yeah, well, like 97% of the people who died was an intentional death. Not to say that it doesn't like, oh, people aren't like, was gonna be like, oh, whoopsies.
Well, did you hear about the run-in on the Capitol?
No,
there was
recently?
Yeah, this happened like 2 days ago.
No. Fuck.
This guy was just screaming about how the Republicans aren't doing anything. He's a representative.
Yeah.
Like, and then they stopped and started. I don't know why people are talking about arming teachers. That's just stupid.
Well, I mean, I get
I
it.
don't trust teachers. I mean,
but it's not.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. You got a guy who's teaching history who was a state trooper for 30 years. Like, I understand
exactly.
that.
I get allowing teachers to carry, but like
that's
forcing them to carry, making that
not
standard
forcing,
practice,
but like creating initiatives where you can carry.
Yeah,
because then you're just gonna there's gonna be an idiot.
Yeah,
there's gonna be an idiot.
I'm sure, but I think
I would rather have mandatory, armed security than armed teacher.
Well, I wouldn't want. I think the threat. I think we should just allow teachers to carry, like to have it open. Not that you must carry or we're gonna have trainings for this, but just to allow it. Hey, if you have it, if you have the training, just let us know about it and bring it in. Like the same way like there's some pilots who carry and not. I guess that's a bad thing.
I have doubts on that just because I don't trust people.
I understand you. Yeah, I get it. But
besides the point,
if we're just talking about just hardening the target, I think the possibility of I'm gonna walk in and I'm gonna do this, but just thinking somebody might be strapped. I think that would deter.
She was gonna go to what school? Sorry.
You're good, man.
She was gonna go to what school? Apparently they had like whatever her fucking bulletin board shit that she had going on, and that she chose to go to that one because it had less security, or it was a softer target.
Yeah.
So that makes sense with what you're talking about with like harder targets.
To make
you want to create as much negative.
As many barriers as possible to make it unappealing to do this. It's like, I won't get very far.
but that guy was like yelling, it's like more guns.
I have that.
Means more deaths. And I started laughing. I'm like,
oh.
So I checked actually today. So
yeah,
I didn't know it was this high, but 320 people were murdered in Virginia last year. I believe I think it was just deaths, whatever it is. Where DC, was like 205.
Yeah.
But the state of Virginia has like almost 9 million people, and DC's got 700,000.
And that goes.
And it's also like a 60 square mile footage, whereas like Virginia, you got to drive it like for 6 hours to get through it. So,
right. And see,
so I'm like, there's more guns in Virginia, and we have less like overall.
Yeah.
Like deaths per like you're more likely to get killed in DC than you are like in Virginia. Because then you would have to break it down. Like a lot of those deaths,
by the percentages.
A lot of those deaths are probably coming from Richmond and the suburbs surrounding it because of the crime, and then Newport News.
Yeah, so like the death rate, and that goes back to
just
the big statistics. Even with the numbers, even though the numbers were so high, the rate of death, like if you take into account the population number, like so the amount of people as a percentage point of the population, it's lower than it was in the 60s. I won't say all-time low, but it was, even though the numbers are higher than it's ever been.
Oh, you mean the actual murder rates are?
Yeah, the rates are actually lower. So not the lowest, but they're lower than people would imagine.
350 million of us. Like.
Yeah. Grew a little bit. Gotten busy.
But like shit's gonna happen. Just like I wonder what the murder rates are in India with a population of 1 billion people.
And that's another big factor, and that goes back into like the whole rolling
they're probably low, but there's probably a lot of people that get killed.
There's a lot of people they don't count.
That's true. Or they don't find.
Yeah. But like it goes back to the whole like when that Roland and Patrick Bet-David, they were having this conversation about the like 27 of the 30 biggest Democratic ran cities have like high crime rates, and he was trying to get him to explain it, and Roland couldn't. Like it was like a 30-minute circumstance
because they were trying to talk about policies.
Yeah,
this,
yeah.
That, and the other.
And so, but it was like, but like even that was a bad. That's a bad point, even on Patrick Bet-David's part. But I mean, I don't expect him to, because like.
Well, he was using
everything.
a cheap tactic because
yeah,
urban cities tend to be more liberal
Crime
in general,
ridden.
but they're also have high
Yeah.
rates of crime because there's high rates of poverty.
Population. Yeah, the population density, the poverty, having all those things together is usually a port. So you have a lot of stuff coming in and out. So you tend to have a lot more criminals moving around. They happen to have a lot of competition.
You then
they
have
happen
people
to get
from outside areas that will come in there to then conduct.
get one thing or another. Yeah, so it's like there's.
It's not like dudes from Richmond probably haven't been to D.C.
Yeah.
But no one from D.C.'s going to Richmond.
Right. So there's so many factors that go into the reason as to why crime is high in cities that has nothing to do with what policies are in place. And I've never seen a study that takes all those factors out and just looks at the impact of policies. So that's a false statement. And same thing with the guy who's shouting. What was his name? I'll just flip it in this part.
Bowman.
But yeah, it was
Representative Bowman. I forget what his first name was.
Thomas Massey and
Oh, did you
Jamal
actually
Bowman.
pull it?
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
well, look at us on.
Pretend to be.
Freaking cowards! They're gutless! They're freaking cowards! They're gutless! They're not here! I'm talking about gun violence!
You know, there's never been.
I'm talking about gun
in a
violence!
school that allows teachers to carry.
I'm just pausing because
I
I
pulling
didn't
up the volume.
because I couldn't hear when I was whatever angled. The one I got was was like the one that came from over to the right. I didn't hear. I thought he was saying like. When he said there's been no, I couldn't hear it. So I thought he was saying like there's no legislation that's been passed to like keep teachers carry guns. But he was saying that there's no school shooting at a school where teachers were allowed to carry.
Exactly.
Which is an actual statistic to tell him to be like.
Right. And like
schools that tell you that there are armed people at this place don't have school shootings.
Right.
And then he's saying that more guns equal more deaths, which is not true at all.
Well, it's like
how many kids are killed in DC that have armed police with like the metal detectors?
And that's the thing. Like he's pulling like, and this is the thing. Like I think both like statistics.
Oh, he's trying to. He's trying to get viral and be like,
exactly.
I'm gonna stick up against the gun lobby.
Yeah, and I think I think both are bad statements. Like the city thing is a bad point because it's like because cities just happen to be more crime infested in general, and that's a factor of the population density. Not
but you could talk about how they have gun bans.
Yeah, but
like New York, you can't like it's like impossible to own a gun, but yet 350 people are being killed every year. It's like, well, someone's finding a way to get a gun.
Yeah. That's a good. Like, if that's the conclusion that you draw, do you draw the conclusion of
Chicago? Same way has a high.
Yeah,
like
even though that's
strong, strict gun laws, but yet
a lot of deaths due to gunfire. So if that's the conclusion, which is I think an accurate conclusion to draw from that statistic. Hey, we have this policy in place that restricts this as much as we possibly can with the power that we and the resources that we have. But yet, this is how high the rates are. So, do you think that this is effective, Or do you think the rates would be higher if this wasn't in place? Or do you think that we have to look at another way to go about trying to address this issue? So, I mean, that's a conversation to have. But like you said, like with the statistics, I mean, even though there's a lot of school shootings, and like I said, like the rates are low compared to what they've been before. But the thing that is on the rise when it comes to gun death, is these active shooters. The active shooter situations has increased tremendously.
Yeah, because it's becoming trendy, just like everything else.
Yeah, it's bigger than it's ever been before. So, let me finish my point real fast.
Okay.
But like it's bigger than it's ever been before, and so that's an issue there. But even with that, it's not like like every other school.
It's like
every third school is being
130
shot.
or something.
Yeah, so it's like there's not a lot of schools that have been hit. But I get the point that he's saying, not as a statistical measure that, statistically...
I thought he was saying armed teachers, but what he was saying is that there wasn't a shooting at a school where teachers were armed.
Yeah.
There's a difference. Yeah, he's not saying, we need to arm them. I thought that's what he was saying. But he was saying that there hasn't been a shooting at a school where
teachers are armed. So, I mean, I think he's pushing
or where teachers could carry.
Yeah, exactly.
That's what he's saying.
Exactly. Not that teachers must carry, but that, hey, if you allow teachers to carry, just the possibility, and knowing that that's a possibility at that
the
school.
The whole point of why people go to schools and churches is because no one has a gun.
Exactly.
Because no one thinks to bring, my 9mm holstered in my dress.
Gotta pray about Jesus.
In my dress.
Just in case.
Well, Texas, man.
But the other point, he'll say it, and then we'll talk about it later. Okay. Yeah, let me just just in case.
Carry guns? You think more guns lead to more death? More guns lead to more death. Look at the data. You're not looking at any data. You're carrying the water for the gun lobby.
No.
Look at the data. More guns lead to more deaths. States that have open carry laws have more deaths.
In every school
States that have open carry laws have more deaths.
There's never been a shooting.
Are you listening to what I'm saying?
Yeah, calm down.
Calm down. Children are dying.
Yeah, so I mean, what he's saying. Oh, go ahead.
I just because I'm gonna lose it. I'm gonna lose my thought. Not my mental health.
You're fine, man. Go for it.
Okay, so what was that last thing that he said?
That more guns lead to more deaths. Look at the stats.
No, open carry. And what is that? That doesn't mean anything.
I mean,
because if it's an open carry state and you punched my wife and you're now trying to steal my car and I've got the groceries by the trunk, I draw my open carried holstered firearm, I draw it and I shoot you dead. You're now a statistical death, but I'm prevented. Stopped you from further assaulting my wife and stealing my vehicle.
Yeah. So exactly what you said. As a matter of speaking, if you make it more available, this is the result that's going to happen more because people are going.
What if there's an increase in rape, and we're seeing an increase of women killing men who are potential rapists?
His measurement of the state statistics doesn't take into account any of those things. So it's like
more gun deaths doesn't mean anything.
It's like looking at the city statistics and not taking into account all the reasons why. I think we talked
about this like way back when we were first starting. Because I was looking at like the police trackers for like police shooting deaths. So one of them was an 81-year-old black woman, and she was killed as a result of police fire. But her 18-year-old grandson was wanted for 2 murders, was sitting on the porch, drew his weapon, opened fire on the police. The police turned fire, rogue shot, goes through the window and hits her.
Yeah.
So, I mean,
there you go.
She's killed by a result of guns and police violence.
Yeah.
But it's as a result of her grandson who decided that it would be cool to murder 2 people and then open fire on the cops when they're executing their warrant.
Yeah. No, so
that's not like, oh my God, they're killing old black grandmas. It's like, no, it was just a shitty situation that came about because of people making bad life choices.
Right. And so, like, I mean, that's a great example. And even to highlight, going back to the gun deaths overall, as a fraction of the overall people who died from gun deaths, it's like, not to say that hundreds of people isn't a lot, but it's like 1%.
But what are justifiable, though? That's what you need to look into. It's like...
No, that's one thing, but what I'm saying...
how many of these are, like, murders?
Right. And like, and
not like, hey, this guy busted through my house and has a knife to my husband's throat, and I have a shotgun, and I'm pretty accurate, and I blew his head off.
Yeah. They still count that as a homicide, technically, but
it's a homicide. It's a homicide, but it's not a. It's not someone being charged for murder.
Exactly. So he doesn't take that into account. But speaking like. Because it doesn't take that into account, that doesn't mean anything. The same thing that the cities thing doesn't mean anything because it doesn't take all the other factors into account. So, I mean, but he is right that statistically speaking, states who are more lenient with guns have higher rates, but the same way that the cities... That
just might be that they're more well-armed and appropriate to defend themselves in bad situations.
Which makes sense, the same way that it makes sense that cities have a lot higher gun deaths, as a function of all these other factors that we've talked about, has nothing to do with the policies. So, yeah, it was just, they were talking past each other.
To me, it falls on deaf ears from the George Floyd thing, because the amount of children that were black children that were murdered during that year is just absurd.
Yeah.
I mean, it was hundreds.
Yeah, it's terrible.
Or maybe not hundreds. It was probably like maybe 100 to 200 kids, like under 12, were murdered.
Yeah.
And it's like the direct result of just like, I'm playing hopscotch and someone did a drive-by.
Yeah. So it's like that's a big issue.
And nobody was like talking about gun control for that.
Yeah.
They weren't talking about policing. They weren't talking about... No one even talked about it at all. It was just right. Unless it was a school shooting, it was just like, 4 black kids died over the weekend. It's okay.
But yeah, like it's an issue, but it's not the issue that they're painting it out to be, and not for the reason that they're painting out to be it at. But that's why, like, because politicians tend to like pontificate in order to garner support either via votes or money, that's why it's like you're not going to get the most intelligible conversations about gun rights in
gun deaths
space.
are up in DC actually. 40 at the same rate of last year. It was at around like 42 or something like that.
Yeah.
And right now it's at like 53.
Yeah. Shit. Yeah, that's high. But I'm gonna rifle through some other stuff or like that's shit that's nonsensical, and I'd hold other people to a higher standard.
Ow.
Oh. Old man groans.
Yeah, just a little bit.
Yeah, here we go. What's her name? Marjorie Taylor Greene. She's another rep. She says, how much, in regards to the Nashville shooting, how much hormones like testosterone and medication for mental illness was the transgender Nashville shooter taking? Everyone can stop blaming guns now.
Why did you bring her up?
just to prove the point where
but if it was maybe anybody else, I would have been like, oh, maybe informative.
Yeah, like it's so stupid. Like
But I know what you mean. Like
how nonsensical these conversations are. Like that's what.
But that's potentially true.
I get but I don't think it has.
I don't trust her method.
Not as a function of testosterone or mental health medication.
Well, no,
I think more so a function of like we were talking about like a psychotic break. So it's
I mean, it just could be the chemicals that are going in could create, along with whatever issues that they have going through their life with dealing with what they're dealing with, could create a potential.
I think, like as a function of
what I'm saying, it doesn't help.
Yeah. I'm sure that doesn't help, but I think it's more so the.
I just don't trust her.
When I think about how many people are on testosterone or taking testosterone treatment, albeit because they're older or they want to roid rage is a thing, but testosterone rage isn't a thing.
Well, that's the same thing.
No. Roid rage is due to steroids. Testosterone is the hormone that everyone produces, but more predominant in males that stimulates.
They do similar things.
they do similar things, but the roid rage is more so a function of the roid's chemical effect on the body.
But the testosterone is doing that too.
Yeah, but the testosterone is more a natural thing, which is why I think it's more popular. And
take
more
me. I have issues. I clearly have issues with my temper.
I didn't know. That's fine.
So if I were to go on testosterone, that would increase. I was like, "What's the chemical?" And it was like, "Oh, testosterone."
Yeah, I follow.
So that would put me at my levels with when I was 20, but my mindset is different back then, where it is now.
Yeah.
So
I think
back then I was more I was more hiding everything, and then now I'm just dealing with like getting older and the frustrations, and then not hiding everything, and then that boils over, and then I have like this temper problem.
Yeah.
So it's going on the testosterone. If I'm not actively making sure that like I'm balanced and I'm like eating healthy, and doing whatever I can do.
Yeah.
I could have some really bad anger outbursts.
No, I'm sure, and I get what you're saying.
Which could result in physical violence.
Yeah.
That's my point. Is that
I get it, but I'm saying, like,
and that's
the level of impact.
But I'm saying that's what a roid rage is, because there are some people that do steroids and they never experience that because they never had an issue with their temper and they've been even keeled.
I see what you're saying.
Where the going on steroids or testosterone can sometimes over accentuate issues that you haven't been addressing with your own personal mentality. Okay. Whereas if you're depressed and you start getting on steroids, you might kill yourself like after a couple of years. Because you're now over accentuating everything and you're in that element and you're pumping, but like it's still not changing how you're feeling, and then that goes you to like deep dive into depression, and then you kill yourself.
I hear you. I don't know enough about the differences between steroids and testosterone's effect on the body to really know what factor it really plays, but I do know that, or I guess I should say, I assume that most younger people who get into violent altercations, it's less so about the amount of testosterone that they have, and more so, like you said, about the mentality.
Yeah. It's the mentality.
So it might play a factor, but
steroids,
I think
it's more organs and stuff. Failures and stuff that you have to worry about, and like your heart exploding
and small balls. Well, heart explosion is a big issue. More worried about small balls. But yeah, I think the way that she depicts it is like, oh, I'm sure that it's not of net benefit, but I think it's negligible. The amount that the testosterone and the medications contributed to what happened in Nashville is negligible, I'm willing to guess. And so I think that this is and in her case, because politicians in general, I just have a lower level of trust. I trust that they know this, but they're just painting this picture to purposely be divisive.
Well, I don't know if she's a liar or if she's just insane.
God knows. Yeah, I don't know. I wouldn't. Yeah, maybe it's dangerous to say one way or the other. But what I do know, is like statements like this are ridiculous. So I mean, again, like it might have played a factor, but I think it's so negligible that it's not even worth looking at. So that's
she hasn't built up enough equity for me to take that statement seriously.
Yeah, so I mean, I was just essentially saying, conclusion or takeaway, don't go to her for advice about what happened in Nashville. And I want to go to Tucker, said something similar.
The trans movement is the mirror image of Christianity and therefore its natural enemy. The trans movement is targeting Christians, including with violence. Most Christian leaders in this country don't want to admit that. Admitting it might force them to take deeply unfashionable positions.
I don't know about natural enemies, but I mean, that is a growing sentiment.
Yeah, and I think that's it. He's stoking that fire. He's stoking the fire between, which is
I wouldn't say he's stoking the fire. I mean, there are people that have had posters.
Yeah, and then
there
are
the equivalent of
out there.
Christians beware. I mean, like
no, there are extremist groups that are actively targeting Christians for those reasons. But I don't think that in and of itself.
No, I'm talking about sentiment that supports potential violence towards Christians.
Yeah,
like there are people that if they found out somebody went into like a Catholic church and like killed 15 people, they wouldn't be like, oh wow, that's terrible. They'd be like, good fucking scum.
Yeah,
that's what I mean.
Sure. Yeah, the extremist. So I know that exists.
I don't think that's an extremist. Well,
oh wow!
I mean, I guess
I think it is because it's not happening. I don't think that person gets a lot of sympathizers. At least it's not. That doesn't seem to be
their group.
Surface level. It doesn't look like to be the cultural norm.
Supports that.
Yeah, and I think that group is an extremist group. I don't think the majority of people.
I just feel like it's enough people that it bothers me.
You're right.
He might be making it a little bit bigger than what it is, but it is a growing thing where you should like keep an eye on it.
Right, and I don't mean to undermine it. I just mean to say that kind of rhetoric isn't the kind of rhetoric that two people from opposite sides who have the best of intentions can have a reasonable conversation and about like what's the best way forward.
Who's this?
I think he's a rep from Ohio.
Made me think of Vance Refrigeration from The Office.
No, but JD Vance says we're still learning about the horrific shootings in Nashville. But if early reports are accurate that a trans shooter targeted a Christian school, there needs to be a lot of soul searching on the extreme left. Giving into these ideas isn't compassion; it's dangerous. Yeah. So with that, I think it's way more even keeled than the other two examples from before.
And then he identifies where he thinks the issue is, which is on an extreme plane.
Exactly. So it's like, oh, this is a better example, but it's also
maybe we shouldn't demonize and make people not out to be human beings.
There you go. It's like, like this seems like a measured response. Call back to our earlier episodes.
It also sounds like a bigot named Terry Crews.
Oh, what did Terry Crews say?
Do you remember this like a couple years ago where he says, I don't want Black Lives Matter to be Black Lives Better?
Oh, and the potential, they were ripping him apart.
Yeah, with the potential issues
how dare he?
That this seems like it could make it.
Oh God! Yeah, I can't even do that. That's a fucking A. That's a whole other. But yeah, but I think, but again, like if he. I think it's like I mean, it could be phrased even a little bit better, but like even with this, like this is fucking canyon mountains better than the other two examples. So it's just, so I'm for it, but it was still like he depicted it as if it was supposing that the hypothetical situation was true. And I'm just like, nah, like we don't really know that, but that is a possibility, and that's a fear of theirs. So I think that's something that someone could respond to in a more even keel way. Like, hey, I don't think this is for it. Like, I mean, there could be like a group, for example, like a trans people who are against that kind of, who are against the left extremist violence against Christians, and this trans group creates or trans founder creates like a security group that specifically.
Well, it's like the gays against grooming.
Yeah, exactly. So it's like a group that from that community that
are
you
like,
presuppose
why are we
is
doing
for that
drag shows at libraries?
Yeah. So I was like, oh, that would be a great thing. Like there was like one of my favorite shows is Blue Bloods, and there was an episode.
Is that where the?
I couldn't find the clip. I put in another clip in there, which is cool, and it kind of depicts the essence of the show. But it's like there's everyone is involved in law enforcement. I think like one kid is a beat cop, another one's a detective, another one's a lawyer. The dad's the commissioner. The grandfather was the former commissioner. So like it's a really law enforcement family, and they have Sunday dinners together, and they have these they always have these interesting conversations. But there was one episode where like I think the Klan was like trying to start a rally, and it's based in New York. Was trying to set up an event.
The Klan?
Yeah, the Klan was trying to set up an event, and they went to the NYPD to the commissioner to try to get security for their event, and he's really like by the book and doesn't believe nepotism, and regardless how he personally feels, he's not gonna make decisions based off of that. He really goes like he's like a moral god, like he just perfect. And so he's like all for it. And they have this really interesting conversation at dinner. And he's just like, hey, well, this is my job. This is what I have to do. And he's just not like real old school kind of dad vibes. Like, I'm not going to sit here and explain to you how I feel or one way or another. It's just like, yeah, I could say I don't accept this. I don't like it, but this is my job. This is what I got to do. And like it goes all the way up to the end, and they're going to host the event. And like everyone's so contentious. A lot of other things are happening. And at the event, a bunch of cops pull up, and they're all like the biggest, brawliest black guys you've ever seen. All posted up. It's like, yeah, so we're here for your security. He's like, the guy's like, what is this? He's like, oh, I wanted to provide you with security. So I reached out. These were the best and brightest of NYPD. All of them are colored, and it's like the best thing ever. So I was just like, oh, it's like that's a good way to like to abide by the rules and still like stick it to fucked up shit. And this is an unrelated thing. I forgot. Oh, they kind of explained it. I think it's about the issues with the way with racial issues and law enforcement. It's like a minute clip, but.
How'd you get that, Uncle Jamie?
I took a flight of stairs with the wrong end of me.
You fell?
I was pushed.
Uncle Jamie and his partner were pushed down some stairs.
Really?
Papers made it sound like it was because you were white.
Nonsense. It's because it was blue.
A uniform.
What happened is there were some black men who thought that the white cops were trespassing in their church.
Were they?
No, they weren't. They were doing their job. Though that doesn't always matter.
Should Grandpa have sent black cops instead?
Should all your teachers be white just because you are? Are you coaches?
That would be stupid.
It's called segregation, and it is dumb.
All this stuff is very complicated, you know. I mean, on the one hand, you got white cops who walk the beat in black neighborhoods, and, you know, sometimes they feel like not everybody trusts them just because they're white.
You got black kids who feel like a white cop's gonna ask them just because they're black.
It's happened a million times in this country.
But I am an equal opportunity cop. I don't care what color you are, what race you are. You break the law, I'm breaking your head.
Annie. Gandhi speaks. So, how do we make it better?
One decent person at a time. You put a knock on anybody who talks trash like that.
Remember this. White, black, blue, purple. We're all the same color on the inside. And in every gospel sermon and prayer in every church, temple, and mosque, it all boils down to one sentence. Go out of here and treat everybody you meet a little better. Amen. And pass the potatoes.
So, I mean, that's just... Yeah, one of my favorite shows of recent time. But yeah, that just captures the essence of that show and where we should be in general. And it's just... I don't think something that's really captured, especially like when I go on social media and try to explore what the fuck is happening. It's just like all these extremist views and hot takes on each side trying to demonize the other, this terrible monster. And
you just gotta look for the news that you want. That's all.
Yeah. That's
why you can't look for conversation.
That's exactly why I look for that's why I'm so insulated, though. That's why I don't know what's going on, because I only follow very specific people. And then I'm like, oh, I want to know more about this. Let me look at what these specific people talk about these things. Oh, cool.
What should be done to protect people like your little girl from being safe in school?
Well, we homeschool her, but that's our decision. Some people don't have that option, and frankly, some people don't need to do it. I mean, they don't have to. It just suited our needs much better.
Thank you.
Good?
If there's any role for Congress to play in reaction to this tragedy, obviously this is your state now, but it's happened in every other state.
Oh, it's happening. It doesn't matter what state it's happening in. We're all Americans. It doesn't matter the color of their skin. They all bleed red. They're bleeding a lot. I don't see any real role that we could do other than mess things up, honestly, because of the situation. It's like I said, I don't think a criminal's going to stop from guns. You know, you can print them out on the computer now, 3D printing, and there's really, I don't think you're going to stop the gun violence. I think you got to change people's hearts. You know, as a Christian, as we talk about in the church, and I've said this many times, I think we really need revival. We're not going to fix it. Criminals are going to be criminals.
Yeah, I think that's his take, and that's where a lot of people from this side look at it. Like, oh, there's nothing that we could do legislatively. So, so that's one aspect. People look at it that way, and I think someone with him, like him, at least the way that he presents himself, are open to conversation.
Yeah.
But
no, that's the original clip.
yeah, I'm trying to find. There's another clip of this other guy that I don't know if I. Oh no, this guy. Gen Z rep. He was on the other side of the spectrum. He has something else to say, and dive into that a little bit.
I rise today because I am furious. Angry that 3 kids died today in Nashville, Tennessee. Angry that hundreds of parents had to cry their eyes out today, not knowing if their child would come home from school. And angry that we have to live day after day when we turn on the news to see rampant gun violence claiming life after life. And all of this is because politicians in this chamber that have been bought and paid for by the NRA, that put profits over people, over human lives. Cowards who wasted our time last week, passing a parental bill of rights, not giving a damn about the rights of children to be able to go to their classroom without the fear of being gunned down due to senseless gun violence. It is likely that at this moment, the next mass shooter is planning their shooting. What will this chamber do about it?
Nothing you would be able to do if he's planning it right now.
So I mean,
also that's ridiculous because you don't care about kids.
So you made 3 different points. I want to dive through them. So like the NRA thing, it's like, all right, people. But like, I don't think everybody who disagrees with him is on the NRA's payroll.
No, it's just a talking point. The NRA is a membership program to help educate, and there's a museum and lobbies on behalf of its members,
right?
Just like any other organization.
Yeah.
I don't want to be lectured. I don't want to be lectured by somebody who might be getting funds indirectly from Pfizer. Like, go fuck yourself.
Or from the anti-NRA on this particular matter. Yeah, like you said, there's lobbyists on all sides, and there's money involved. But if you take the money away, then it's like, okay, then it's just people who are just voicing things. It's like, I'm all for that. But I don't know, like, he's not arguing for that.
But that's just a tactic to demonize the NRA. Like the NRA is just this.
Which, by the way,
anyone who knows anybody in the NRA, it's like some middle-aged white guy who wants to get. He's got nothing better to do because he's retired and he just takes lessons.
But special interest groups exist. I think money in general is an issue. But I think if you take that away, then it's just
like
a special
the teachers
interest group,
union. I mean,
which also money, same thing. So it's just
the teachers unions are even more unethical because they're donating money to finance campaigns to help government employees get more money from the government, while then turning around and then using those it's a revolving door of.
Which is the same thing with a lot of companies do. That's why a lot of companies have offices downtown for lobbying. It's like, oh, well, yeah, I'm going to spend X amount of dollars. That's a lot of money to spend. Yeah, but if I get this much in tax cuts, if I get this much policy-wise, that's a net gain.
If I can get these contract bids.
Yeah, that's a great business model. Yeah. Why would I not? My incentive is to make more. So it's the same for everybody. Just take money out of
They just so happen to be firearms. So,
yeah.
And because you don't like them now, it's not okay to have.
Yeah, special interest group is naughty. But yeah, the other thing he said there's he had a parental bill of rights. No. The Republicans had passed or were working on a parental bill of rights. And it has to do with money in the schools and books and education and gender,
I think that
or
passed.
informing the parents about the gender and violence, if something violent happens at the school. So it's like you could.
It was like punishing teachers who hide private information about children.
Right. So I mean, like you could. Again, I get it's another debate tactic, but it's like you could love two things at the same time. You know, like you could love your dog and your cat. You could love your son and your daughter.
What are you talking about?
Like he the way he said it was like, oh well, we did this, but because he's like, oh well, I had a bill about gun violence prevention, and that wasn't and we didn't take anything about that, but the parental bill of rights, well, we did. So these guys are cowards and da da da. It's like, well, you could.
Wait a minute. What was he saying about the parental bill of rights?
He was upset. He's like, well, these cowards passed this parental bill of rights. And like, oh, we talked about this. Or they care about the parental bill of rights, but they don't care about the rights of the students. That's what he said. So it's like, again, I know it's a talking point, but it's just like, it just feeds the fire about how that's a nonsensical conversation. I was like, you could have, well, he's a politician. I'm not surprised. I only do it for this. Honestly, like if it's just me doing research trying to figure out what's what, I wouldn't be looking into this unless I was looking at, okay, let me get a coalition of people together in order to lobby for one thing or another. But it's like you could work on two bills at the same time. You could pass one bill and work on another bill. Like it's okay to do that. Like I hate the weak ass talking points that are non-conversation starters. Like they're just purposely set up in such a way that pretends that the other side doesn't exist.
It's like a dead zone.
Yeah, it's fucking irritating. But yeah, and then his thing, the bill on what was it? Last bill on gun violence prevention. So he has a bill about establishing an office of gun violence prevention or something like that, federally speaking.
Okay.
But and they had stuff like that they started up in Colorado after the shooting over there, and I think in some other states, and it makes sense over there in those states, but it doesn't make sense in the federal government because those states don't have anything aside from like it's essentially trying to pull together law enforcement the judges, mental health professionals, pulling all these people together in order to work on strategies and coalesce all this information in order to push for trying to figure out how to address this issue. The federal government has the ATF. We have an organization dedicated towards regulating firearms. So to create another system of bureaucracy in order to address the same thing, but just to specifically address
that's what
schools.
You have to do.
It's what? Like it doesn't make sense. We already have it. You could just include a charter or petition the president with a group of congressmen. Hey, we want to do this. We're not going to pass anything gun regulation wise. So to work on this prevention, we want to include this thing in the executive end when it comes to regulation.
Uh-huh.
Oh, okay. That's a conversation. But like to create an entirely different office when you have an office that already exists, it's like if I hired somebody to paint a wall and I told my wife about it, she's like, oh, cool. And then she goes out and hires somebody else to paint the same wall. What are you doing? Like just tell me you don't like the fucking color. Just tell me like the edges were
correct
wrong.
analogy would be painting it the same color. But you wanted another person to do it.
Yeah, it's so much worse. You just want to say, I got the person to do it. All right, you win. You got it, brother. All right, wifey. You whatever, missus. She hasn't done that. Thank God. I paint. Save some money there. But yeah, it's just it's stupid. It's ridiculous. But like you know, and all that all the bureaucracy that exists is beholden to congressional scrutiny. You know, like so. Shit. I mean, I'm. That's it. That was my point. That's. It's stupid to create something that already exists. It's stupid to create something when you could hold people accountable if you believe that they can. If the buck stops with them, if it's their specific job in order to enforce these policies, this type of policy, or would have anything to do with that person. I think not doing that is just lazy. You're just trying to lazy pontification. Like you're not even trying to fix the issue. You're not even working with what you're trying to reinvent the wheel just to say you did it, as opposed to looking, oh look, there's a perfectly good set of wheels right there on that carriage. I guess I could just gotta make this bad boy from scratch. It's like, all right. So weak sauce. Politicians.
Weak sauce?
Weak sauce. That was just weak sauce. But yeah, I mean, the stuff that makes sense, universal background checks, that makes sense. I like that proposal. Most people like that proposal. Background checks exist, but it differs from state to state.
Didn't they already do the 21?
Did they? I know they did it with no, they didn't. Because we were here in Florida, you could walk out with a.
God damn it! They did it with cigarettes.
Oh, okay. But yeah, but leaving.
They did it with cigarettes.
Yeah, raising the age to 21 makes sense for purchasing a firearm. Enforcing the laws that already exist, creating a universal background check so it makes it easier to check with the FBI for all these things, and standardize the thing that people can use across state lines. I think and then hardening to the target, we've talked about that. Security guards make sense. Allowing the teachers to carry if it makes sense. Having a cop patrol regularly makes sense. But mandating any of those things would be costly and I think ineffective. So I think try to do it in a way that's not costly. And then licensing, I like the idea of licensing. Bill Burr came up with that idea, like, oh well, how about like if you want to drive, you have to go in and take a test with this. If you want to drive a motorcycle, you have to go and take a separate test for that. If you want to drive a commercial vehicle,
Yeah.
So like I think that makes sense. Like okay, the higher the caliber of
the only problem I would have is who determines what those questions.
Yeah. But I think that's a good idea. And while we're at the driving thing, I think re-upping on the driving certification to maintain your license is a good idea.
I wouldn't trust the government to come up with those.
Yeah, I think, and that's something like coalitions of like NRA and everyone in between about like the anti-NRA of just like, all right, let's come up with something that makes sense for.
Now, maybe 20 years ago I would have had faith.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh, that makes sense. But
Yeah.
now I'm like, no, that's.
Yeah. Yeah, it fucking sucks. But at the end of the day, it's like there's a lot of stuff that makes sense. There's a lot of discussions that have taken place with a lot of people who know what they're talking about. There's a lot of special interest groups that are looking into this matter seriously and having serious discussions on it. I just hate that they're not being aggrandized or talked about or looked at, and we're just looking at the politicians squirm and squander and people like extremist talking heads talking from one perspective or another. We need something a little bit more regular. And that's
constructive.
Yeah. That's why we're over here throwing our hats and throwing our phones in order to give you guys an intelligent conversation about the issues.
In order to watch me have a mental breakdown.
So it's like the guy Magnum PI guy said on the
Tom
Blue Bloods.
Selleck?
Is that his name? I'm terrible with names. But just
Mustache Man, Tom Selleck.
Yeah. But we all just have to be kinder to each other, even people on the opposite side who looks at things differently, and take on responsibility.
Do I need a nap? I keep yawning.
But take on responsibilities. We should take on our own responsibilities. And I thought about like one of my favorite movies when I was a kid was Mortal Kombat, and that part at the end, I could play it now, but I might have to leave. I don't know. How long does it take to get to work?
Like 25.
All right, fuck it.
How long is it?
Dude, come with me.
You already know what I was thinking.
Forgive you for letting me die. No. It wasn't my fault.
I had to do this and I hate the way it came.
No. Chan chose his own path. Every man is responsible for his own destiny. Shang Tsung killed my brother.
But I love that clip because it's like, oh, everyone needs to be responsible for their own actions, and not to look for. It's like Matt Taibbi was saying back in the last debate. It was just that we covered, the monk debate. Yeah, it's just like, hey, well, just you shouldn't trust in any institution. Just trust in the individuals or the people consistently get it right, or if they get it wrong and apologize for getting it wrong, then go from there. And they ask for forgiveness and they apologize and they're honest with it, then just go from there. And then everybody's just responsible. So like, oh, this guy killed his brother, and it's like, and he had a dream about it, and then it's just like, fucking, okay, I gotta do this, and it's like, and he's trying to make him feel guilty about it, and it's just like, no, you know what? I'm not gonna feel guilty about it. It's your fault. I'm out there. He chose his own path. I respect him as a person to do what he thinks is right. And I think if you don't do that, then you're just going to be beholden to whatever forces can convince you that the number 23 is on your side. You know, they're just going to take your soul like Shang Tsung did. But but if they don't, and you listen to podcasts like ours, like and subscribe, by the way, then you'll pretty please. Yeah, then you'll come out looking like Shang Tsung ended up getting happier in a little later after he settled down.
Just him.
Yeah. So be like more like that, y'all. All right, we're out.
Oh my God.
Perhaps the success of the film The Joker, which many said unduly fetishized the position of the loneliness, is a kind of eulogy for a culture of dispossession, loss, feeling like you don't belong to anyone or anywhere. And none of these things are being meted out by me as excuses, not for the inexcusable, not for the inexcusable causing of immeasurable and unimaginable grief, the type of which has been inflicted today, simply as an offering of, if we are truly to look for solutions to the problems that our culture is clearly experiencing, we're gonna have to start considering things that we haven't previously considered. We're gonna have to discover a different type of language. And my sense, and I would not claim to be certain about this because I know as little as anybody else, is that what we must have recourse to are deep spiritual values, the kind of values that are difficult to access in a culture that prioritizes tribalization, oppositionism, commodification, individualism and materialism, progressivism, and I mean progressivism in terms of technological progressivism, i.e. humankind is heading somewhere, we're better than we've ever been. When those kind of certainties abound and define the conversation, then I don't feel that we're going to reach any conclusions together. I feel that this is one of those times where perhaps we should be really deliberately listening to people who we don't agree with and taking on board what their concerns are. Why do you feel so certain about that? Why do you have such certainty around, let's face it, the divisive subjects of gun control, identity politics, all of the things that I predict, imagine, assume will come up as the talking points around this issue and will ultimately play out in accordance with a predetermined set of ideals that each side have. And what I've been struck by lately is when it comes to the political divide, both sides appear to be, in a way, operating on behalf of interests that are not explicit and not declared. And all of us really, really have the same interests. All of us are here temporarily. All of us are going to die. All of us are going to love people. All of us are going to experience loss. And if we don't find that North Star, something between us and among us that causes connection rather than division, then I don't feel that there will be much of a chance for healing.